I would like to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand for our invocation and then our pledges of allegiance, which will be led by Polk Elementary students Gavin Albert, Kennedy Fulton, and Kiera Thacker. And before we have our prayer, I want to just pause for a moment of silence as we just remember the McConnell family that we lost this past week. And so if you'll just bow your heads, we'll have a moment of silence and then I'll pray. Father, we thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for just the ability, Father, to be here and to live in a great country with freedom and to be able to be a part of a school district, God, for public education, where we get the opportunity to represent, Father, just our kids. Father, I just thank you so much for all that you have provided for us. Father, I especially just want to remember the McConnell family this evening. Father, that your hand would just be upon them, be with their family. Father, just be with us tonight as we discuss the business of our district. Father, help us to have wisdom. I pray that you would grant us wisdom. Father, just help us to have understanding. Father, I pray that all that we do would bring honor and glory to you. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I would like to ask our board to begin making its way to the front as we transition into our awards, achievements, and recognition. I will now turn the presentation over to Carly Fisher.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey, Board President Howard, board members, staff, and guests. Tonight, we have much to celebrate in awards, achievements, and recognitions. So let's get started. Our first presentation will be done by Brian Cole, Executive Director of Secondary Education.
Mr. Massey and the board, it is an honor to be able to introduce some very high-achieving students tonight. The National Merit Scholarship Program is an academic competition for recognition and scholarships that began in 1955. High school students entering the National Merit Program by taking the preliminary SAT, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, and by meeting published program entry and participation requirements. To be considered for a National Merit Scholarship Award, semifinalists must fulfill several requirements to advance to the finalist level of the competition. About 90% of the semifinalists are expected to attain finalist standing, and about half of the finalists will be awarded a National Merit Scholarship, earning the title Merit Scholar. National Merit Scholarship winners are announced in 4 nationwide news releases, which begin in April and conclude in July. A total of 4 Brazoswood High School seniors received recognition from the National Merit Scholarship Program. 3 Brazoswood seniors were listed as commended students in the National Merit Scholarship Program. When I call your name, would you please come forward to receive your certificate? Jason Divas. Brendan Sade. Vivi Tren. Michelle Spraza, a senior of Brazoswood High School, qualified as a semifinalist in the 2018 National Merit Scholarship Program and received a perfect score in the reading, writing, and written portion. As a semifinalist, Michelle has the opportunity to continue in the competition for the 7,400 National Merit Scholarships worth more than $32 million that will be offered next spring. We are very proud of these students for this outstanding academic achievement. Their accomplishments represent the culmination of hard work from talented students as well as a dedicated teaching staff. It is further evidence of the high quality of education that our students receive in Brazosport ISD.
Can you stand closer so some of this will rub off on us?
Everybody ready?
Would you like to step in and take some? Go right ahead. Go ahead. Go. Absolutely. Kids are amazing. Thank Our next award will be presented by Chief Academic Officer Clara Sale Davis.
Good evening. Last spring, Jenna Clements, our science coordinator, shared an application opportunity with all science teachers to participate in the National Student Space Flight Experiment Program for the 2017-2018 school year. Supported by her principal, Melena Gutierrez, Stephanie Gay, 5th grade science teacher from Stephen F. Austin STEM Academy, seized this opportunity to bring this once-in-a-lifetime real-world experience to BISD. Together, they created an implementation plan that would include all 6th grade campuses district-wide and submitted it to the Student Spaceflight Experiment Program. In July, Brazosport ISD was selected as one of only 32 schools across the country to participate in the National Student Spaceflight Experiments Program. Over 750 BISD 6th grade students have started real experimental design and proposal writing through a flight experiment design competition. This competition is conducted through a formal submission of real research proposals by the student teams, as is the standard practice for professional researchers. The experiments will be designed around this very important essential question. Hang on to this. What physical, chemical, or biological system would I like to explore with gravity seemingly turned off for a period of time as a means of assessing the role of gravity in that system? A formal two-step proposal review process will select one student-proposed experiment from our community to launch to the International Space Station to be operated by the astronauts in 2018. It will launch on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida, adjoining NASA's Kennedy Space Center. And let me add, with a generous amount of $25,000 grant funding, which was provided by Dow, BASF, and the University of Texas, and the BISD Education Foundation, our 6th graders will have this opportunity to be a part of this outstanding learning experience. At this time, we would like to recognize Jenna Clements and Stephanie Gay for their efforts in securing the opportunity for our students to showcase their talent and set the standard for excellence. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all very much.
I have the pleasure of awarding this next recognition. At this time, I would like to ask Dave Winder from Dow Chemical to join Mr. Massey. He'll be back at the end. This year, 38 science teachers from across the country were selected to be a part of Dow's Smithsonian Teacher Scholar Program. And 4 of BISD's teachers out of the 38 made the cut. They were chosen to participate in this very prestigious program this past summer by going to Washington, D.C. and attending different academies. We want to first thank Dow Chemical for this opportunity, not just for this year, but for the past 3 years since this program's been in place. We are grateful, and our science department is learning and growing abundantly. Thank you. This summer, 4 of our teachers, working side by side with the Dow STEM ambassadors, the CH2M engineers, and some of the Smithsonian Science Education Center experts, attended academies in biodiversity, energy innovations and implications, and the Earth's history and global change. And this summer, for the first time, the Smithsonian collaborated with the National Museum of African American History and Culture to develop a one-day program as part of the Energy Innovations and Implication Academy. The program focused on the museum's leadership and energy in environmental design gold certification. And these participants also had the opportunity to take a behind-the-scenes look at the museum's sustainability measures such as green roof, water recycling. They also got to view the facilities through the eyes of the museum's architect and along with their structural engineer. Our BISD teachers setting this very high standard and being picked to participate in this most prestigious program. Please join Mr. Massey, Mr. Winder, and the board members when I call your name. Irena Gerbitin. Joni Marcraft from Madge Griffith. Javier Montiel, Elizabeth. And Jennifer Nicholas from Grady Rasco. Thank you for truly setting the standard in science in BISD across the state and the nation.
No, we got more.
Oh, yes. Okay, now. Our next award will again be presented by Chief Academic Officer Claire Stelbeck.
Congratulations to the staff and students of Polk Elementary for being named as one of only 15 schools in the state of Texas and one of only 130 in the nation as a model professional learning community. To receive this honor, a school must demonstrate a commitment to the PLC concepts. They must have implemented those PLC concepts for at least 3 years, present clear evidence of improved student learning, be able to explain the practices, structures, and culture of the school, and submit it for consideration to a panel of PLC experts consisting of researchers, authors, and practitioners who utilize a rigorous selection criteria. Polk Elementary was selected based on their commitment to teamwork, or as they say, their culture of collaboration, and their shared commitment to the learning of all students as evidenced by their student results. Not only did they meet standard on the state of Texas accountability, but they met standard with a distinction in closing achievement gaps and had the highest achievement data for special education students in the district. Educators in schools from the U.S. and all over the world can search the All Things PLC database. And on the website will be a star on Richwood, Texas, and this star will represent Polk Elementary and BISD. It will be linked to Polk Elementary's story of how they have successfully implemented the PLC process with a focus on improved results and student performance. Schools will be able to contact the Polk leaders for further discussion and perhaps visitation. This is the star on the website, but we know that the Polk Pandas of Rice-Port ISD are our shining stars in setting the standard for excellence for all the world to see. I would like at this time for Principal Tara Fulton and her staff members Lauren Elisor, Jasmine Smith, Dana Mayberry, Jessica Ochoa, Haley Yates, and Alicia Burrell to please come forward to be recognized. Everyone look here. Anybody else? Thank you.
And now our next award will be done by Ron Redden, our Executive Director of Data and Compliance Quality.
The BISD Extra Mile Award is presented to an individual or group for their dedication to students and a willingness to go the extra mile. So tonight, we're recognizing a local church that certainly meets those criteria. At this time, I'd like Pastor Chad Alexander and Children's Minister Anna Lester from the First Baptist Church of Lake Jackson to please join me up here at the front. The flooding of Bridgewood brought on by Hurricane Harvey created a challenging scenario for our district. As the September 11th restart of school drew near, rising concern over the lack of accessibility of students and staff to Polk Elementary School led the district to contact First Baptist Church to request use of their facility to temporarily house that campus. Without hesitation, the church said yes, and work began on turning Sunday school space into classrooms. Anna Lester, Associate Pastor Dave Ketchend, and Building Supervisor Gerald Donnell helped us to locate rooms, plan for the movement of furniture, and organize for drop-off and pick-up of children. The church made signs for the classrooms, made minor repairs to rooms, and over the next 2.5 days availed themselves in any way we needed. Mrs. Lester even made arrangements to provide lunch for the Polk teachers and staff on Friday. Just before lunch that day, the district learned that Polk would be accessible by September 11th, and we would not need to use the church facility after all. All of us who were involved in the momentous task of transitioning an entire campus to another location saw firsthand the amount of work that was required on the part of the hosting facility. We were struck by the graciousness and support we received from First Baptist Church team despite the disruption we caused to your own operations. Chad and Anna, it's my pleasure to present the Extra Mile Award to the First Baptist Church of Lake Jackson and to express on behalf of the Board of Trustees, Superintendent Massey, and the entire district our deepest and most heartfelt thanks for everything you did to welcome and support the Polk team. Although in the end we did not make use of your facility, we still want to recognize what a valuable partner First Baptist Church is to BISD and your willingness to go the extra mile for our children.
Thank you very much.
The Texas Association of School Boards, or what we call TASB, holds a Stand Up for Public Schools recognition program each year to recognize outstanding businesses and community organizations. all over Texas. Brazosport ISD has benefited tremendously from the generous support of area businesses and community organizations such as you just saw. Whether they've chosen to champion the marching band, a vocational field, a CTE building, a whole school, or the entire district with a discount, our local businesses and community groups are vital to the success of our students. And we know in BISD that we are truly blessed to have the support of all of these organizations. This past year, BISD nominated several partners to be acknowledged for their support and dedication to our schools, our students, and staff. We are very proud and pleased to announce that the following businesses and community partners were selected by TASB for the Standing Up for Public Schools Recognition Program. First, I would like to invite two partners up. Would Tabitha Ray from BASF and Dave Winder from Dow Chemical please join Mr. Massey and the board? This is the second year in a row that TASB selected BASF and Dow Chemical as one of their Standing Up for Public Education honorees, and we are grateful.
Thank you.
And now we have our newest BISD TASB Standing Up for Public Schools honorees. When I call your name, would you please join Mr. Massey and the board? Wendy Mazurskowitz and Robert Pate is here from Freeport LNG. Rod Hall, Honda of Lake Jackson. Paula Chance, Sonic K&S Restaurant. We have Lois Davis and many team members of the Brazosport Area Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. Would you come? We're going to take a picture right now.
Go squeeze right there.
Can I have Yep. That's what I do. I think we're missing. Can you see your face? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, who's not?
Don't worry about us in the back.
I know.
Great job.
And now we have a few more TASB BISD honorees. Would Jim and Shelley Martin of BISD's Education Foundation please join Mr. Massey? Keith Frank from the Brazosport Rotary Club. And our True to Life Ministry team, Meredith King, Leslie Carter, and Stephen Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank Royal. Thank you, Royal. We appreciate it. Good job. Appreciate all your work. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Fellow dissenters, turn towards me. Tenure and fraternity. There we are. There we are. Go ahead, Dr. Niebuhr. On behalf of TASB and BISD, thank you for being outstanding partners. Our next presentation is Brittany Rosenbaum, Executive Director of BISD's Education Foundation and Alternative Funding.
On behalf of Brazos-Port ISD and the Board of Trustees, I am honored to recognize those who have given generously and selflessly towards the building of the Gladys Polk Special Needs Playground. The Special Needs Playground was a dream of the staff and administration at Gladys Polk Elementary. A dream to see students who are bound by physical disabilities experience recess and true play as it should be, without barriers. The staff at Polk did not let anything stand in their way of seeing this dream become a reality. They put together a plan, contacted those necessary to see their plan through, executed many fundraising activities, and pulled together an entire community. The City of Richwood, business owners, philanthropic groups, caring citizens, and parents have all given to make sure this plan comes to fruition. We will break ground on the playground very soon. Tonight, we want to recognize those who have given and supported Gladys Polk in this endeavor. Please come forward as I call your name. Kim Albert, representing Polk PTO. Chief Brian Corp, representing the City of Richwood and the Lions Club. Kevin and Cindy Moriarty, representing Swedgelock Texas Coast. James Dye of Sorrel Construction, donating labor and materials for the flag. Justin and Nicole Yoffman could not be here tonight because they just welcomed their first child a day or two ago, I believe. And so, but they did give very generously and hosted a fundraiser at Yoffman Ford for this event. So we want to recognize them. In total, I wanted to mention that these sponsors have given over $28,000 in funds, labor, and materials to make sure that this playground happens. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brazos-Port ISD partnered with Schneider Electric in 2010 to create an energy efficiency project. Tonight, we welcome Peyton Lopeser and Marissa Bounce with Schneider Electric to present BISD with the Lasting Legacy Award.
We have a little bit of setup.
Hi everyone, my name is Marissa and this is Peyton, and like we said, we are from Schneider Electric. We're here tonight to present a scholarship award to Brazos-Port ISD. We partnered with y'all school district in 2010 for a 5-year energy efficiency plan, and some key components of that plan were replacing building automation systems, adding occupancy sensors, retrofitting lighting, modifying water fixtures,
installing water well irrigation systems, and other mechanical upgrades and equipment. And since that implementation over the past 5 years, we have seen Brazos-Port ISD save an average of, on energy usage, an average of 36% a year, and which accumulates to over $3.2 million over the course of the 5-year project. So yes, we were able to reduce utility usage, we were able to save a lot of money for Brazos-Port ISD, and also the program had a civil environmental impact by providing energy efficiency savings equivalent to removing 5,505 cars from the road, planting 30,000 acres of trees, or removing 25,000 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So today Schneider Electric recognizes Brazos-Port ISD's program for saving the district money, substantially reducing its facility's CO2 emissions, and promoting a comfortable learning environment for the students. And we're really excited today to present this $1,000 scholarship award.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
It is no secret that great schools have great leadership, and BISD has great schools, and they have great leadership. For the month of October, Brazos-Port ISD is joining organizations around the country to show our appreciation of our school principals. In BISD, our principals are vital to the success of our students. Their leadership inspires teachers to achieve academic excellence for their students, their classrooms, and they also provide their students access to rigorous and well-rounded educational tools. Brazos-Port ISD is very proud to recognize the importance of our elementary and secondary principals during this month. And we join Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas Association of School Principals in highlighting the significant impact these individuals have made in our school. As school leaders, principals are entrusted with our most valuable resource, our young people. BISD principals are more than just caretakers, though. Our principals set the academic tone for their school, and it is their vision, dedication, and determination that provide the driving force for achieving student success. The motto of the Texas Association of School Principals is, above all, students first. And I assure you, the actions of BISD's principals not only exemplify this belief, they set the standard nationally. When I call your name, please join Mr. Massey and the board in the front. From the SFA STEM Academy, Milena Gutierrez. From Best Brandon Elementary, Julie Evans. From A.T. Boyle, Laura Moyer. O.A. Fleming, Maria Espinoza. From Matt Griffith, we have Karen Mott. From Elizabeth Ney, Vicki Carr. From T.W. Oz, Christy Traylor. Kara Fulton, Gladys Polk. Jennifer Neighbors from Hogan Roberts. great place to be for our students and staff.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Copeland. Appreciate it.
Oh, Lee? Dr. Land? Yes. Nice try. Come on down. All right. Would y'all make sure? Swoosh. Okay. All right.
Don't worry about it.
Mr.
Don't worry about us. We're here all night. We're here.
Could I have you know what?
We're here.
All right. And just go. Fill in.
Gentlemen.
I think we got it in the Everyone look this way, please. Hold your certificates up, those who haven't. Thank you. Oh, This is a picture that Mr. Yost can't photo
And our final recognition, Mary Lou Shaney, Coordinator of Human Resources. Good evening. It is my honor to present to you the Heartworks recipient for September, Leslie Poole. Ms. Poole is an English teacher at Brazoswood High School, and this is her 21st year to teach in Brazoswood ISD. Leslie was recommended for recognition by her principal, Rita Pentavalli. Ms. Pentavalli received an email from a Brazoswood parent expressing her gratitude for Ms. Poole preparing and delivering a warm meal to her family. The family of 7 had experienced their home being flooded during Hurricane Harvey. The parent wanted to thank Ms. Poole for her act of love and kindness. Tonight, we want to thank you, Leslie, for all that you do to meet the needs of students and staff on your campus. Ms. Poole, please accept this dinner for 2 from our 4 BISD Kids partner, El Chico's, and a certificate on behalf of Mr. Massey and the board for setting the standard and showing that we are indeed BISD strong.
It's a little easier to see everyone now. Thank you, Linda.
I told you it was a great night, truly a great night. This does conclude the best part of this meeting, our awards and recognitions. But please, we are already looking forward to November because we have a lot of students to celebrate next month.
Ms. Rebecca Kelly will now conduct our public hearing to discuss school first.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CFA Legal, it is my pleasure to facilitate the public hearing for our 2017 Annual Financial Management Report, or more commonly known as our first rating. Included in your agenda documents is a full copy of the report. Under School First, districts report certain financial data to TEA, including the district's annual financial report. TEA assigns its financial accountability rating to each district. Then, within 2 months,
Each district must announce and hold a public meeting to distribute the report that explains the district performance to taxpayers. School First was developed by the Texas Education Agency in response to legislation passed in 1999. In 2006, performance under School First was added as consideration for accreditation along with academic performance. School First provides additional transparency to public education finance and meaningful financial oversight and improvement to school districts. Pursuant to Texas Education Code requirements, the Commissioner of Education has adopted rules to implement and administer School First. Districts may receive one of 4 financial accountability ratings: A for superior achievement, B for above standard achievement, C for standard achievement, and F for substandard achievement. TEA will base the district's rating on the district's overall performance on the financial measurements, ratios, and other specified indicators. The ratings are based on data from our immediate prior fiscal year. This data includes the district's annual financial report, PEIMS data, warrant holds, and the district's average daily attendance information used for school funding purposes. There are 15 indicators upon which the ratings are based and a maximum possible score of 100. The first 5 are designated critical indicators and must be passed in order to avoid an F rating. The critical indicators are as follows: timely filing of the annual financial report, an unmodified opinion, and no material weaknesses in the annual financial report, compliance with payment terms of debt agreements, timely payments to government entities, and an unrestricted net asset balance greater than 0. BISD passed all 5 indicators. Indicators 6 through 12 are solvency indicators, some of which are scored either 0 or 10, and some of which are scored on a sliding scale of 0 to 10. BISD received 68 out of 70 points. Indicators 13 through 15 are financial competence indicators, all of which are scored either 0 or 10. BISD passed all 3 and received 10 points for each indicator. Brazosport ISD has once again earned the highest achievable rating. This marks the 15th consecutive year that Brazosport ISD has received the top score in this accountability measure by TEA. BISD received an A for superior achievement, passing all critical indicators and scoring 98 out of 100 points. One of the district's strategic planning goals is to exercise fiscal responsibility to ensure financial strength and to provide resources to equip and maintain quality facilities and educational programming. Our superior rating was achieved as a collaborative effort, and I'd like to thank our Business Services and Human Resource Department staff, our department budget owners, and our principals, and our Compliance and Data Quality Department for data submission to TEA. We are proud of this rating as it demonstrates our commitment to taxpayers to use funds efficiently and in a manner that maximizes dollars spent on quality educational experiences. This is a public hearing, so at this time I'll be happy to answer any questions from the board or take comments from the audience.
Any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, ma'am. Public hearing closed at 6:44. Just after experiencing some other districts, I would just like to reiterate how much I appreciate your report and what it represents for our district. So thank you. At this time, in accordance with BED Local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board. Tonight we do not have any requests to comment to the board, so we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items requested to be pulled from the consent agenda? Hearing none, then, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
Moved by Scott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Spears. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda are our action items. Action item A, Ms. Rebecca Kelly, to consider the resolution determining eligibility for tax credits.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy BBG Local, I have Mr. Dan Casey with Moat Casey and Associates here to present for approval a resolution determining eligibility for Olin Chlorine 7 for a tax credit. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Casey.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Massey, and Dan Casey of Moat Casey and Associates. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Just very quickly, this goes back, and this district, Chapter 313 of the tax code was passed in 2001. The very first project in the state was approved by this board in 2002. There's project number 1, if you'll see, and I think you've been very active in behalf of a number of businesses in this effort. Basically, it was designed as a 10-year tax relief program, and early on, for M&O tax purposes, property is kept at a lower value. Now, I think right now we're at $30 million. We had a year ago, we were one of the projects before you was at $80 million, but it's $30 million. But when they passed the bill initially, and this probably tells you more than you want to know, but it's basically it was $8 years at the reduced value, and then they gave the companies credit for any taxes they paid in the first 2 years prior to that 8-year limitation. This really came about because every bill has a 5-year, what they call a 5-year fiscal note associated with it, and they were told if they didn't have 0 in each of those 5 years, the bill wouldn't pass. So the only way they could do that is delay payment on this tax credit issue that's before you now. If they impose those tax credits and pay them out later, that would make those 5 years 0, and the bill passed as a result. And I think it's been a substantial success. Before you have the Olin chlorine plant at issue here, and the resolution is really based on their tax statements for the 2014 and 2015 years. And this received a limitation for the first time last year. But they basically ramped this project up pretty substantially. It was the first year was at $426 million in value, and then the second year, $796 million. So this project skyrocketed in terms of value, and as a result, they paid over the $30 million limit for each of those years. They paid $12.1 million in M&O taxes to the district, for which they're eligible for credits. The resolution before you really sets out how this came about and what it's based on, and determines that they in fact have met the eligibility requirements, which we deem that they have, and this is really based largely on their tax notices. So what this authorizes is that for the next 7 years, possibly longer if there's still some tail on this, is that they are eligible for tax credits. There's a form that gets filed with your tax assessor collector saying they get a reduced credit. You are then reimbursed by TEA through the state funding system, either through additional, well, I think in this case additional funding regardless of the circumstances. But as part of settle up each year, you are reimbursed, and part of this process is to inform TEA the board's action that you approve this credit resolution if you decide to do that, and then it sets up the basis for reimbursement. So there's no cost to the district from having entered into this. There's essentially a payment delay for the credit that they receive, but you'll receive that later this year, I think within this fiscal year for this fiscal year's purposes. So I think with the calculations you had right now, they'll be paying $1 million, about $1 million, receiving $1 million credit for which you'll be reimbursed by the state for this tax year that you're in. So it's one we recommend to you. I think in terms of the agreement that was signed back in early 2011, one of the commitments is that if they are eligible for it, then basically the board would give consideration to making sure they are eligible for this tax credit. Be happy to try to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying we give them a tax credit, then we get reimbursed for the money that we didn't get from the property tax value, from the money gets reimbursed through TEA to a different form. So is it coming out of the general fund?
I think it'll be coming out of the general fund from the state, or if you have, and I think in terms of settle up, I don't know that it'll be reduced recapture. I think it's going to be a general fund statement, but it's going to show up in your summary finances as being reimbursed for the tax credit. So you'll basically get reimbursed for the full amount.
And it's our general fund revenue, because it was tax they paid on the M&O side.
So I think the TEA identifies this, and it'll be reflected in your summary finances for the year that you, in fact, are reimbursed for this credit.
Is it outside of the funding formula?
No, it's part of the funding formula, but there's no penalty associated with it. There's no
Outside of recapture too?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Just want to make sure they don't forget to pay this guy.
We'll try to make sure we're trying to push on these, try to get reimbursement sooner rather than later. Now, the other thing, but you raised a good question about the recap. One of the things we're doing with regard to for projects that have tax credits, when we run revenue loss calculations for you, we're making sure you're reimbursed for any state aid or anything else that these credits might generate for you. So those are built into the estimates we have now, so you don't have any financial consequences from this resolution. But it's either paid by the state or made up through the revenue loss calculations that are then sent to the company for payment.
All right. We have a recommendation from the administration to consider the resolution determining eligibility for this tax credit. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution and also authorize the board president and secretary to authorize and execute.
Second. It's been moved by Mr. Atkins and seconded by Mr. Swartner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. It carries unanimously. Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Payton.
Next item on the action item list is action item B, to adopt an order authorization issuance, sale, and delivery of Reservoir Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bond Series 2017A.
Me again. In accordance with Board Policy CCA Legal and in alignment with BISD strategic goal to exercise fiscal responsibility to ensure financial strength and provide the resources to equip and maintain quality facilities and educational programming, I have Lewis Wilkes with U.S. Capital Advisors here to present for approval an order authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of Brazos ISD Unlimited Tax School Building Bond Series 2017A. I'll give you just a little bit of a background. In November of 2014, voters of the Brazosport ISD approved the issuance of a $175 million bond. We promised our voters that we would be fiscally responsible, utilizing competitive sales to secure the lowest interest rate, and we would stagger the issuance of the new debt to align with the property growth related to industry projects, keeping the tax rate flat. Bids were received at 11 a.m. this morning, and at this time I'll turn it over to Lewis, who's here to present the bids that we received.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Massey, my pleasure to be with you tonight. Lewis Wilkes with U.S. Capital Advisors, your financial advisor. As Ms. Kelly said, this is the third installment from the 2014 election of $175 million. Thus far, we've sold $80 million, and tonight another $50 million, which will then leave us $45 million to sell to complete the authorization. And what I've passed out to you, I've actually numbered in the bottom right-hand corner, and I thought we'd just follow along, and I'll kind of go through the pages to kind of describe what we've been doing over the last several months. Pages 1 and 2 is just the timetable of events that we've been working on. As Ms. Kelly said, we took bids, competitive bids at 11 o'clock this morning. And on page 2, if you approve tonight, we should close the transaction on November the 15th. So money should be in your hands on November 15th. Page 3 is just a distribution list showing all the parties involved in the transaction. Page 4, 5, 6, and 7. Each time we sell bonds, we apply to the Permanent School Fund Guarantee Program for the PSF approval. This is what gets the school district the AAA rating. And you can see a letter addressed to Mr. Massey there on page 4, authorizing us to sell up to $50 million with the PSF guarantee. Then on page 7 through 11 is the rating that we've received from Moody's. Each time we sell bonds, we also have to get the bonds rated. You can see from this report, which I've just provided so you can read at your leisure, they have affirmed the AA2 rating for the school district and the AAA rating pursuant to the Permanent School Fund Guarantee Program. So AAA, PSF, and then there is a AA1 and then a AA2 rating, and that's where you are. Everybody else is below that. So a AA2 rating is a very, very high rating. And the report's there for you to read at your leisure. Then just 12 and 13 is the offering document cover page and the notice of sale cover page. Bids are taken electronically and some overview information on 14 and 15. And then we get to where the rubber meets the road, if you will, on page 16. Bids were due at 11 o'clock. You can see that we received 6 bids prior to the 11 o'clock deadline. On page 17, you can actually see the bids. The best bid was submitted by Raymond James and Associates at a true interest cost, or TIC, of 2.735129%. 2.735. The cover bid was R.W. Baird at a 274.1. Bank of America Merrill Lynch at a 278.4. Citigroup at a 278.6. Hilltop Securities 279.7. And Wells Fargo at a 282.9. This is why we like to take bids, because they were all good bids, but the best bid clearly is another 9 or so basis points from the latter, so the worst bid. So we'll take that 9 basis points. Then you can see the bid on page 18.
Is 6 bids good, bad?
That's good.
Average?
That's good. Now, inside of these bids, just because you see one name, there is a lead bidder. And, for example, R.W. Baird usually has, they were the cover bid, they usually have 30 banks or institutions that bid with them. So it's probably these 6 managing bids, if you will, probably represent 40 to 50 banks easily, or financial institutions. Page 18 is the bid, and page 19 we check the bid just to make sure we're matching the tick out to about the 6th decimal spot, 6th or 7th decimal. On page 20 you can see the couponing and the yield. Yields are what what the investor is receiving, if you will, ranging from 92 basis points with the 18 maturity down to 315 with the 37 maturity. And then all the bids are presented on 21 and 22 if you just wanted to look through and see each bid. On 23 is the final numbers. I starred the $50 million. You may note that we're only selling $45,915,000 in par amount. But we did receive a premium of a little over $4.5 million. And so the net of that are the proceeds, of which $50 million will go into your construction fund, and $50 million will go against your voter authorization. There's also enough there to cover the cost of the transaction, the underwriter's discount, what the winning bidder bid for their fee. So you will net $50 million, even though we're only selling $45,950. You can see, and I'll flip through a couple of pages here. Debt service is scheduled out on page 26 and 27. First interest payment, principal and interest payment will begin 2/15/18, and they'll continue through 2/15/37. And then the last page in the document, page 28, this is kind of showing where we are now. The green column is the debt that was issued today, the $50 million for your project fund. And the yellow column is our just numbers that we've got in there. That's what we have to complete the extra 45, the next issuance of $45 million, which will complete the $175 million. We're estimating we've got a placeholder of 4.25 on that. We don't think we'll be there, so we're showing conservative numbers in our analysis. And then if you look on the right, far right column, you can see the 21.53 rate is the tax rate that we've been trying to maintain over the last several years as we've issued this now $130 million of debt. And we've got it such that we think we can maintain that for another couple of years, and then it will start to fall off unless there are other needs that the district may have at that point. Just a little side note, we sold bonds, $45 million, I think, back in April of this year. That was a 3.28 interest rate. You can see where we were on that versus where we are here at a 2.72. Ben Morse is with me, representing Andrews Kurt as your bond counsel. And if there's no questions for me, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, and then I'll turn it over to him.
I had a question. You said we're actually selling $45.9 million, but the net is going to end up being $50 million. So where does that other? I see that net premium, but where's that $5 million?
Well, let me point out a page to you, and you can see it a little better. Go to the next page, page 24, and it's the couponing that is creating the premium. Bondholders would like to have as high a coupon as they can get. It's easier to sell with a higher coupon. One of the reasons we like to sell competitively is a lot of negotiated sales would have 5% coupons all the way. We'd generate $10 million of premium. But that far right column is just showing, for example, let's just pick a maturity. Say the 26 maturity is at 5% coupon at a 191. So the investor on that coupon is getting a 5% yield. But because they're paying, see the price is a 123, they're paying 123 today, when they're going to get $100 back. So that 23 extra goes in to make this premium column over here, and that's just the premium that's being generated through the couponing. That premium goes to the school, and that's basically allowing us to lower the par amount from 50 to 45 because we generated $4.5 million in that premium. In the last maturity, a 3% coupon. Or let's look at the, because it's a discount, let's look at the 33 maturity. A 3% coupon yielding $295. So they just had a little premium because they paid $100.399. When it matures, they'll receive $100. So they had to pay a little more to get that extra little kick in interest from a $295 to a 3. Does that make sense? All just in the couponing of how the bonds are sold.
I'm struggling why they would pay more. Is it because they...
Well, it would be real simple, and there's not a par bond on here. So the winning bidder didn't bid any par bonds, but a par bond would be a 3% coupon, yielding 3%. You pay $100, you get $100 back. And the world would be a lot easier if that were the way it was done. But it's just not because of the couponing and the pricing. So the discounts, look at the discount. The very last maturity, 37, $3.1 million was sold at 3%, but they're yielding 3.15. So they only had to pay $97 per $100 of value, and they're going to get $100 at maturity. So it just depends. It's a mechanism that's used to help price the bonds and not have all par bonds. Don't ask me how it started that way, but that's the way it is. So in order to get the pot right, if you will, we got an extra $4.5 million bid in cash to you guys. We don't need that extra $4.5 million if we're selling $50 million of bonds, because we end up with $54 million. So to counter that, we just cut the amount of bonds we sell to 45.
People usually aren't that generous to give you $4.5 million for nothing.
Well, they're not getting it for nothing. They're getting a yield on it. But we didn't need to sell $54 million. We only needed to sell $50 million. So the only way to combat that is to say, okay, we're only going to sell $45 million because we've got this other in cash that they've given us up front for these interest rates. So think about it this way.
They're betting the rate's going to drop. And that's why they're wanting to ensure they get the rate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good.
It bothers me because why would... Okay.
I don't know how they're betting, but think about it this way. The district receives an extra $4.5 million of cash, and it's all built into these numbers, and you're still paying $272 for the interest rate.
Financial groups always have strings, though. Where's the string?
Well, one of the reasons we like competitive sales is because you get the absolute best bid. It's transparent, and we saw the 6 bids, and the best one wins. Instead of the other process is a negotiated sale, where we actually just sit and negotiate with a set of underwriters. We'll never get the same pricing in a negotiated process versus a sealed bid process.
Any other questions?
Our recommendation is to award the bonds to the best bid submitted by Raymond James and Associates at a true interest cost of 2.735129%. And I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Louis, and President, members of the board, and Superintendent Massey. Ben Morse with Andrews Kurth, your bond counsel. I'll keep it pretty brief. Basically what we've done is we've put together a packet that's sitting on that desk over there. The order authorizing the bonds will authorize the issuance of the bonds, the execution of all the documents that are within that packet. And then in the meantime, between now and closing in the middle of November, we'll compile the transcripts, send that to the Attorney General's office. To the extent that they have any questions, we'll work with them on those. And about 7 days before closing, we'll know that we have approval from the AG to move forward, and then we'll proceed to close on the 15th of next month. But that's all I've got, unless you have any questions.
Any other questions? The Administrator recommends that the Board of Trustees adopt an order authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of the Bradsport Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bond Series 2017A. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion that we authorize the bonds sales to Raymond James and Associates.
All right, it's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Jerry Atkins and seconded by Mr. Schwartner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming down.
Keep them building. Next, Action item.
We also, in the packet was added, packet C, packet C info that could be included in these funds, so I got added late, so I want to read it.
Action item C, Ron Redden, BISD Academy Targeted Elements and Campus Improvement Plan.
Rebecca, if I may.
Oh, I will.
Ecstatic and passionate. Good evening. In alignment with policy AIC Legal and the district goal that Brazosport ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready, I'm presenting for board approval the targeted elements and campus improvement plan as required for the Be Success Academy. A copy of the targeted elements and the 2017-18 campus improvement plan are included in your packet. The Be Success Academy earned an overall rating of improvement required in 2017 State Accountability System as a result of having not met standard in indices 1 or 2. The development of targeted elements and their inclusion in the Be Success Academy Chapter 11 Campus Improvement Plan is the first step in meeting the requirements for a campus that is rated improvement required for the first year. Implementation of the Campus Improvement Plan, and in particular, the targeted elements, will be monitored monthly. Throughout the remainder of the year, the campus will complete various required activities as they prepare a comprehensive targeted improvement plan that will be presented to the board for approval in June and then implemented in 2018-19. Targeted elements serve the purpose of addressing areas of low performance that led to the campus receiving an improvement required rating. The three targeted elements are, in 2017-18, 40% of English 1, 2, and Algebra 1 end-of-course exams will be scored as approaches grade level or above. In order to increase the percentage of students who are eligible to graduate, 75% of the 3 to 5 year Be Success students will pass 3 or more end-of-course exams during the 2017-18 school year. And number 3, in 2017-18, 70% of 9th graders will exit caught up in credits, and 85% of Be Success students will graduate from high school. And then, strategies to accomplish this goal, Be Success teachers, administrators, the professional service provider, and the district coordinator of school improvement created several strategies to help the campus to accomplish the targeted elements. Strategies include accelerated instruction using Edgenuity, individual conferences with students to set completion goals, parent conferences to review and or discuss graduation plans, tracking charts that teachers and students can use to track the progress in credit recovery, use of data to formulate individual intervention plans, embedded RTI during the instructional day, instructional support for lowest performing subpopulations, assurance that EOC-tested courses taken through Edgenuity are completed before testing, and provide math interventions on Tuesday through Thursday to support Algebra 1. In addition, the district is supporting campus intervention efforts with 2 paraprofessionals, funding for tutorials, and additional STAR Math remediation resources. And I want to add at this point that many of these things speak to supporting instruction and their learning. We have to keep in mind that most of these students have never passed the STAR test. Some of them haven't passed it since 3rd or 4th grade. They're entering Be Success Academy with tremendous gaps in understanding and knowledge. So to address the ability to pass the test and address those deficiencies that led to improvement required, we have to also address their deficiencies in knowledge. We have to close the gaps, in other words, for them to be prepared to test successfully. And so there's where the different interventions speak to both pieces of that. The Be Success Academy targeted elements and the campus improvement plan will be formally evaluated 30, 60, and 90-day intervals. It is the administration's recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the Be Success Academy Chapter 11 campus improvement plan that includes the state-required targeted elements. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any clarifying questions you have.
George?
I know with the Edgenuity, they can move at their own pace, and so what's the passing grade to move from one unit to the next? And is that something that, if it's too low, then the kids are kind of getting through it faster, and they probably, if we need to change the grade to make sure they learn more of the content before they leave each unit, especially because it's self-paced learning.
Well, you actually make a good observation there, and that was one of the things that the teachers, all the teachers on the campus are part of our leadership team that's developing this plan. And one of the areas that they were concerned about is that very thing. Students are able to move along with the edgenuity, but are they really ready? Which is, I think, what you're asking. And so what they want, and they've built into these strategies, and you may have seen it as you look at the target elements, is for there to be a pause button pushed. Go back and look at their work to date. Are their grades really indicative of their readiness to test to move on to the next unit? And I think that's an important step in the right direction for helping to identify where those gaps are. There's where the paraprofessionals come in. Bringing in the paraprofessionals, we've been able to change their master schedule to create periods at the end of the day embedded into the master schedule for them to receive intervention. Their teachers can identify the areas where they're gapping, as we've talked about, and then they can assign them in those tutorials to opportunities to have those gaps closed before moving them on.
Are they also doing mock stars?
Yes, they are. They will be analyzing mock star data as that comes across, and using that to help design additional interventions for star remediation.
Okay. And then for the three that are tied to the star, how is the rigor within the Edgenuity program compared to the rigor of the test questions that they're going to have to take? And have we screened it?
Well, our content coordinators, I believe, are the ones who went through and screened Edgenuity when we first got it to ensure its level of rigor. I think that is part of this process as we go through the course of this year and we look at the rigor level of Edgenuity. Is it rigorous enough? Moving forward, George, what we're going to be doing next is, you remember the turnaround process and how intensive it was. That's really what they've replaced the targeted improvement plan with. So actually beginning this Wednesday, we actually begin this Wednesday and this Saturday with the process, and this will be a very deep dig down into the process to ensure things like that the rigor level is aligned. If it is aligned, then how are we closing gaps? How are we addressing these things? How are we then filling in additional gaps that we're seeing through the mock stars or other questions that we might be using, or can we be giving them some tests that will tell us along the way that they're learning it? So I guess we believe it's aligned, it was designed to be aligned, but now as we begin to dig deeper, I think that we will see for certain that it is aligned. Make adjustments.
I may not understand the system. Credit recovery may not necessarily be a full academic year or semester. The credit recovery may only be, one of the 9 weeks that their grade dropped below. So they're trying to recover that part of the year that they failed. But the part that they didn't fail, that they passed, may have only passed by marginal, that they really didn't learn the material. And so, the credit recovery doesn't necessarily adjust the size of the gap that they actually had going into the STAR exam.
Well, and I think perhaps at the high schools more so, but at B Success, in order to be in the Be Inspired program, which is they basically didn't pass credit. Okay, so these kids are coming in without credit. They're coming in and they're having to, for all intents and purposes, start over again. And move them along. One of the other things that came up, and you heard me allude to this too, was that because of the retest cycle, one of the things that was happening is kids would be in, because they were required to retest. The statute requires them to be retested when they failed. Each time that opportunity comes along, one of the concerns was ensuring they've completed the course again before they retest again. So we'll be looking at that piece as well.
And is there going to be an effort to look at and I don't know how much you can see from the previous STAR test data that they have to see exactly where their gaps are?
Yes, absolutely.
So you almost have like an individual education plan for
That's
each child.
exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
We're individualizing it. We're looking at their results, and number one, step number one and number two on the second goal are to look at that past data and to develop an intervention plan for each child. And they'll have their own personal plan that will be monitored. That'll be part of our 30, 60, and 90-day monitoring process. It actually says in there that the SIP, which is the PSP the principal and the teachers will look at each individual child. Where are they in their progress on accomplishing their plan?
Okay. And the overall plan, how aggressive is it going to be? Because I'd really rather them be off of IR within 1 year, if that's feasible.
That's our goal.
Okay.
That is absolutely our goal. We wrote this thing and told Mr. Massey, when I told him they're going to make us spend a year writing a targeted improvement plan, that's not acceptable to us. We want them off of IR this year. We don't want them carrying forward.
Yeah, because the 2, 3, 5 year stuff is
Now,
really,
DEA can have that piece. We
really
prefer to have the off 1 year.
Good answer. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah. I have some.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you say that there's been 2 pairs added?
Yes,
already?
that's what, well, we're adding 2 pairs, yes.
Will be adding?
Yes, we will be adding.
And basically, what is their role going to be?
The role is going to be to help support with the interventions in the afternoons.
Okay.
And during the day, they'll be able to support in the classrooms. What we're trying to do is give more time for teachers that have those students, the certified teachers, to give more one-on-one attention to the kids.
Are the paras going to be based on discipline, like 1 math, 1 English, as far as their strength, or is it just another body? Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on who they hire to answer
No,
that.
I'm sorry.
I'll interject here.
We're hiring the paras to relieve the teachers, so
Yes,
the teachers
right.
can do
The teachers are the ones that are providing the support.
Okay, yeah, we're not hiring
That's the
paras
purpose.
to.
No, they're not providing the support.
They're gonna go in with the kids that are working on the edge duty online.
Yes.
And some of them may be there may be 20 students in there, and they may be working on 7 or 8 different courses. The paras can supervise that while we use that math teacher.
Pull those teachers.
Right.
The trained professionals that help with the.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Jerry. You know, we talked with that whatever it is.
Edgenuity.
Has been used, right? I mean, we view this as, this is continuing. We had a
Yes.
legacy or whatever. How successful do we think the parent conferences and the attendance rewards that we have, how successful do we really think those are going to be to get the kids to the school and get them through? Is that, have we had any examples of that being successful? I know they had open houses last year, and I know that they have quite a few kids that graduate. See the pictures, which is great. Obviously, they passed it.
Yes.
So, how do we have any idea how successful the parent involvement and the attendance? Because I think the attendance is really probably the key.
It is.
But do we have any idea how successful? What do we think we can improve by putting emphasis on that? I mean, how's that going to improve? It's going to work. I mean, because these kids are there probably because they hadn't been attending.
Right.
One aspect would be how much effort is that going to take from the teachers and the support staff to get and is there any other positions that's needed to help get these students to be there so they can learn? Any possibility? I mean, is there any thought to what kind of personnel would be good to help get the kids to school and attendance? And of course, I know that some of them work in the afternoon, and
right.
all
There's
kinds
the
of
flex
factors.
schedule. There's a lot of different dynamics at the Be Success Academy that play into this, from the flex schedule kids to those who are in Be Inspired to those who are in the Be Success Academy to graduate. Well, we know that research shows that parent involvement is an important piece to school improvement. But we also recognize the nature of the school. But what we also feel like is that with a concerted effort to try to involve more students, more parents in the process by having those meetings with them, with their children one-on-one, to look at these plans, that we have a better chance of having the kids attend better and a better chance of the students being successful. But, Mr. Atkins, honestly, it's at the point where for many of these kids, I know some parents have been involved over the years with them, but as far as me giving you a guarantee on the success of it, I really can't. But I can tell you that we feel like that given where we were a year ago and where the school was in these efforts, where that was basically very little other than the open houses and other things, the teachers and the administration felt that this would be a successful way of supporting the students and getting a higher percentage of students to pass. So this was generated from them. This is their initiative.
And I have not had an opportunity to look back at the data, but I just don't recall seeing the data that raised the flag last year of our STAR scores and the test scores and things like that. And that's something that we need to, as a group, focus on student outcomes.
Yes.
Basically, I think either we missed the data or misinterpreted it or whatever. So I'm talking about us up here.
Well, I think across the board, but it wasn't that we misinterpreted it. There were a number of things that played into the performance last year. When you look at the index system, which of course we know is going away, but we will continue it in different forms through the domain system in its own unique ways. When we look at how few students impact them on the growth side of it, and when you look at the overall performance of retesters across our district and really across the state of Texas, it is a vulnerable group. But what kept us from being improvement required in the past years was there were enough kids who met standard or met the growth measure in Index 2 that allowed us, and there wasn't very many of them because there was very few that really counted, but it was just enough to count, that it kept the score in that index up. But what we have found as the Be Inspired program has grown, we've increased the number of students that will be taking a test that counts towards growth. And those two tests are any eligible and first-time testers, and those are minuscule. There are very few of those. But it's primarily the Be Inspired students who are taking English 2, because they'll be taking it for the first time. So understanding that as we went through the data, those are pieces that was foggy for us a year ago. It was difficult for us to see that piece. But as we've had now 2 years of data, we could see the trending data, we could begin to see that that's where the pattern was and where we felt like we really needed to zero in and we needed to focus. And then that's what led to many of the strategies that you see tonight. So I wouldn't say that we missed anything. It was just, I would say that with the program being so new and with so few students involved, it was difficult for us to track that. But now we see.
I think that's something that we as a board should not be ready to accept just because we have so few students. It only takes very few to create the problems. I think and that's why I like this individual intervention plan.
Exactly.
I think that's key to address, and I guess are we, by having a few kids or whatever, are we saying that we need to limit the number that we have in this area? I think because this is a real need.
Yeah,
I mean that's something that we have to give consideration to.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing is that we determine who gets to go in this program and who doesn't, and so we did miss it. We should not be an IR, and we will not be an IR again. And again, this is one of those ones where we have part of what we've done is looked at the admission requirements also that this has gotten us into, and it's just not a floodgate for kids that don't want to be at school or come to school or do their work at school or continue to fail if they just go over to be Success Academy, because that's pretty much what happened last year and put us in this situation. And so, yeah, absolutely, we are looking at the admission criteria and who is allowed to go over there and who's not.
So I guess I'm still a little cloudy on point number 8. It said that ensure that the DOC testing courses are completed before testing.
Yes.
Which testing is that?
That references retesting. And what happens, again, like I referenced earlier, if a student is in the retest cycle, they're expected to test again the next opportunity that's given. But for some of these kids, they are actually retaking the course because they failed it, that they actually took the EOC in. So, Mr. Atkins, what would happen, let's say, is you come back in September and you're retaking English 1, along with taking English 2 and all these other courses. So these kids are taking multiple courses as they're working their way through Edgenuity, and it takes time to complete those courses. So what they feel like they need to be doing is to zero these kids in on ensuring that they're focused in on those courses that they know they're going to have to test in December, and making sure they've completed the curriculum before they have to go in to do the retest, which was a piece they didn't feel like that they had addressed effectively last year.
Yeah, well, George's point about, getting the credits is, that's required, but yeah, the person was going to have to pass the test.
Well, and their vision for their school, as they've expressed and as we've talked about, has come up in all of our meetings, is that we're not just helping the kids catch up on their credits, we're sending them back to high school ready to graduate because they've completed their EOCs along with catching up with their credits. That's their goal. And so as they are working to build this plan, these are the things that they're addressing. Let's make sure they've completed these courses. Let's make sure they're ready to test. Let's make sure we're closing gaps in the instruction, so that when they go in to take the test, not only they're earning their credit, but we're giving them the best possible chance to be successful on the end-of-course exam, so that we're sending them back ready to move forward and to graduate.
So I guess there's a percentage of kids that go back into the school they came from, and then that's when potentially they need to pass the STAR test.
Yes, and I think the feeling is, hey, if we've got them with us and we can provide them these individualized supports, let's do everything we can to help them to be successful here, so that they don't have to go back with that cloud hanging over them.
And so how are their plans when they get back to their original school, if you want to call it that, or whatever, to address that? I mean, we got the individual plans here. Do those plans follow? I mean, how?
Well, that will be part of our planning process through the year as we look at these pieces. Is this something that we've got in place? If it's not in place, then how do we put it in place?
It seems like a big undertaking. Okay. Just like, go ahead. I'm done.
Just to make sure I understand it, the population of students that we're talking about for the Be Success Academy, that's NIR, is both credit recovery students, which are the original intent of the program, and the students that we've allowed to apply to get into that, correct?
Yes. Well, we have some flex day, we have some early grad types, and we've also got those who didn't pass anything.
Right. So
in their 9th grade year. We're trying to catch them up.
The people that we've allowed to apply to go to there count towards the Be Success Academy's IR.
That is correct. Once they're there, they're enrolled in that
right.
campus. Yes, that is correct.
Right.
That is correct. But it's important to note that this, and I'm not trying to twist a positive spin on it. I just think it's truthful and being transparent. That the original intent was to graduate kids. Let's be straight with this. And last year they graduated over 100. And that was outstanding. We saw in those indexes they had an 85 in Index 4. They were very successful. That's a high score for that school. Very high for even what they were supposed to be rated in that. So in that respect, we are seeing success. But what has emerged is we've got a gap. We've got a piece that we have to address, and that's where their plan is centered. But we haven't forgotten the mission of graduating these kids. And that's where that third targeted element comes in. It's there, so that we are doing both. That we're not doing one real well, the other not well. But how do we bring them both together to do both of them well? And through the course of this year, the level of analysis, because the turnaround process is very intense, through the level of analysis, we're going to better understand how the school can support and help these students to be successful. And to go back to your question a few minutes ago, Mr. Atkins, you asked about what additional supports that might be needed in that. I think those are the questions that will be answered as we move forward in this process and we begin to look at it. What is it going to take for the Be Success Academy to fulfill a mission of sending these kids back to high school, caught up in their testing and ready to move forward with their cohort and graduate? What is it going to take to ensure that they can graduate in 4 years or 5 years if they're students who are already in the retest cycle and behind on their credits? And we'll have to address those things, and those will be coming back.
So what kind of numbers do we have now over at this?
What's our population right now? It's 100?
I believe it's, including night school, I believe it's between 205 and 215. I believe it's about 175 in day school, somewhere around there.
Does that sound right, Julie?
Yeah.
I guess I'm still saying, you mentioned that, we want to have them prepared for the graduation, but graduation is not only credit, it's passing.
It's passing the USP, that's right. That's why we need both pieces.
So,
yes.
Yeah, so still confused on how that got the concern is that, we don't miss that, because that's, that's the requirement. Do we have any idea of what percentage of kids that, make it back to grade level from credits and then go back to the original school? Do you have a guess?
Well, last year it was 30%, I think is what it said on the slide up here. No, I took it out. It was 30% a year ago of the ninth grade.
That was of the repeat freshmen.
The repeat freshman, yes, 30%. I was back on board. Yeah, I'd taken it out of that. It was up there. But in the targeted elements page, you'll see the data that the goal was based on. It gives you a statement of what they performed in 2016, and then it follows with the statement.
Yeah, I won't belabor the point here, but there's these, on the plans, we have a lot of percentages, et cetera, but we wonder what they are now, type of thing. So, but we can get into that later. I won't spend time on that. But that's a little, I see the strategy and the expected results, but I'm wondering where we are now. So now I've got this info, I'll take a look and maybe come up with some questions. So, okay, I'll quit.
Ron, I have one thought. Go ahead.
Just a kind of follow-up on the timetable. So when is the building of the improvement plan?
Yes.
Is when?
It will be brought to you for approval in June.
June, okay.
Yes.
So June of next year, we'll approve the plan for implementation in the
18-19.
Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of risk are we at that at the end of the 17-18 school year that we could still be IR or not have made improvements?
Well,
will we know in September? Will we know in September?
Yes, we would know.
It's kind of late.
It is, but I think the general feeling, in fact, the unanimous feeling of the team on the campus is with these interventions in place, we're going to get there. That's what they feel. They feel that these are the right things to do to get over the top.
We've got 1 year IR now.
Yes, sir.
We potentially could be 2 years IR before the plan kicks in.
No, we're going to go ahead, I'm sorry, we're going to go ahead and implement the strategies. We're not waiting.
Yeah, we're not waiting until next year.
No, we're moving forward now.
Turn into place.
Yeah, I don't want to be at risk.
No.
That we
No, we're in it already.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in it.
Yeah.
We are.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Ron, my question is, with all that we've gone through with the other campuses that we're now, and knowing that this particular campus is not inundated, but they have a large percentage of kids who are struggling. Almost all of these strategies, I just have to believe were already being done. To some degree, maybe not the parent conferences, but I know that when the kids show up and if they're struggling, I know that y'all are working with them. I know y'all are looking at data all the time. Use of data to formulate the individual intervention plans. That's why the kids are there, is because they're struggling. So there had to be some type of plan already. Are you saying that these are mostly new and that we didn't have a plan?
I would say that the interventions were inconsistent. And what we need to do is strive for consistency in the implementation so that there is no child missed in this.
Was that the increase in the attendant or the population over there?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that could be one reason. I think the jump in population created a different type of dynamic for the campus. Certainly could have played into it.
Because I must have talked to the 70%, because a lot of the kids that I know who went here have no desire to go back to their home campus.
No.
They like this. They like, and they feel like they do better there. So I'm a little shocked that they're struggling as much as they are, at least for the kids I've talked to. I know how hard y'all work. It just surprises me that some of these things weren't already knowing that we're doing this on other campuses. So I'm a little shocked that.
Well,
not beating up. I'm just
no, and I don't feel that. I think you voiced a concern, and that I think it's a valid concern, and one that I can tell you that universally, all the teachers, administrators, and everyone on the campus recognize that we have to change how we do business. Again, this was the outgrowth of SAIL in essence. It was a graduation campus, and that was the focus. And we're having to shift gears and recognize that it is more than just a graduation campus.
Right.
It is also a campus where we have to ensure that they're ready with their testing and the cohort groups are ready to go back.
Okay. All right. We have a recommendation from the administration to accept the target elements and campus improvement plan. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
All right, it's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Patty Sayes. It was motion by George. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
The next item on our action item list, still Mr. Redden, is maximum class size exceptions for Ogg, Brandon, and Austin Elementary Schools. Mr. Redden.
All right. So in accordance with Board Policy EEV Local and in alignment with District Goal BISD campuses will be safe and conducive to learning, I'm requesting that the Board of Trustees approve class size exceptions waivers for T.W. Ogg and West Brandon Elementary Schools and the Stephen F. Austin STEM Academy. In accordance with the district's innovation plan, the district is exempt from state law requiring a district not to enroll more than 22 students in a kindergarten through grade 4 class. In the event that a kindergarten through grade 4 classroom exceeds the 22-to-1 ratio, the district will allow class sizes to go up to 24-to-1. Should a class size exceed 22-to-1 for more than 35 days, the Board of Trustees must approve the exception. T.W. Ogg, West Brandon, and Stephen F. Austin Elementary Schools each have classrooms that exceed 22-to-1. T.W. Ogg has one second-grade bilingual education and one third-grade general education classroom that exceeds. West Brandon has two second-grade and one fourth-grade classroom that exceeds, and Stephen F. Austin has one second-grade classroom. Brandon was provided a paraprofessional last year to provide support for larger classes. Ogg uses paraprofessionals to support their bilingual education and general education classes that are over. Austin has historically been permitted to exceed 22-to-1 to accommodate increased attendance at the STEM Academy. We remain committed to reducing the number of classrooms that exceed 22-to-1, but with the high mobility of many of our campuses, smaller campus sizes, close proximity of some of our campuses, and other extenuating circumstances, we must occasionally go over for the 35 days permitted by our local innovation plan and approach you for approval. To put in perspective the improvement in student-to-teacher ratios that you all have supported, consider the following data from our waiver request history. In 2011, 58 classes were over the 22-to-1 ratio. In 2012, it went up to 60. In 2013, 26 classes were over, and then last year, 14 classes were over. This year, we're at 6. As data indicate, we continue to see a decline in the number of classrooms that exceed 22-to-1. It is the administration's recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve class size exceptions for T.W. Ogg, West Brandon, and Stephen F. Austin Elementary Schools. I'd be happy to answer any clarifying questions at this time.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, on the Ogg one, since it's bilingual, I mean, that's already a very difficult
Yes.
content subject class. I mean, the teacher who has that class, I mean, how strong is she? Experienced, senior?
Strong.
Very strong?
It's a good teacher, very good. And we are supporting with para, but also at Christmas, we've got a new teacher coming in. And we'll be able to reduce the size of that class at that time, but we have to wait for the students to finish their student teaching. They're already certified.
Okay. All right, and Grace is shaking her head, so I feel good with you.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
For the Ogg bilingual, the pair is already there, so that's not, we're not helping that.
Right.
But I did ask earlier about my GO school, and the answer was, we do have the bilingual certified. Perfect example of why it's needed. Now, we still have October through December with more kids in there than there should be, in my opinion, because, no matter how experienced you are, you still have all the stuff that goes on. And for next year, we're going to have the same numbers, maybe even more. So by having this, especially if it's certified bilingual teacher, coming in January, perfect. If we had one in the wings that was doing, helping somewhere else, then that move could occur, and and you have 2 certified teachers. What a great deal. Or you could almost break it up into 2 classes. I mean, it'd be nice to have a class of 12, wouldn't it, for a teacher, I would think. So that may be a little unrealistic.
We'll double our elementary staff.
Well, I think it's important.
And the other scenario could be like the master teacher, which we have, can mentor the brand new teacher.
Exactly.
And so
Yes.
rather than, disrupt the lives of, say, 12 kids and pull them off the teacher that they've,
Yeah.
No.
bonded to,
Yeah.
you're building capacity within the bilingual staff and
Right.
mentoring.
Mhm.
So
The only-
there's lots of great scenarios.
The only thing that I point out, and Nathan and I have talked about this, is that you have that one teacher, the mentor or whatever, making sure that new teacher, or in my case, a summer intern at work, it's a lot of work to make sure that you get them busy, keep them busy, and keep them in the right thing. So, that's an aspect that I think people overlook. From the standpoint of having that person helping, sometimes it's not as much help if you don't do the planning. So that's just my experience. But I'm still, I guess when I read that, in the 3rd grade, everything is working well and they don't want to disrupt, but
That's correct.
is that really, do our tests and our measurements, our student outcomes, are we seeing that? Is it working well? I mean, are the teachers working together? Those are the questions that I think, once you start getting more kids, and I don't know, 22 is pretty tough to do.
Yeah.
So now you got 23.
Well, in this case,
breaking up the classes, I understand.
Right.
But are we really addressing, and do we have data that says, hey, we are working well in this area? Because looking at both Hong and Austin, the scores, I have a concern. And so, we don't want to fall back into that. And so, if we miss index 1 or 2 by 1 student, is that extra student? I don't know. That's the concern that I have, and that's why I always question, the exemption. As far as the reductions in exemptions, I'm not so sure we should have had all those, on the first pass. So that's another story. But I'm hoping that we get down to where we have, very little. And of course, Brandon's scores is great. We did the extra pair. It still works well, but it's still a struggle. That's the thing. So I guess the thing that, from an Austin setup, as far as the number of kids for the STEM, over there, we're probably going to have the same number next year. So we're going to have exemption for next year. Did we have one last year for Austin? No?
Yes.
Okay. So, I guess I'm not a big fan of doing it every year. Just have an exemption every year. When do we take a step back and say, okay, hey, we're going to have some more capacity in classrooms, which is good. That'll help. Having another teacher is not really maybe the answer, but we will have an easier way of doing it if that's the best case. And I guess the thing is that I just want to, my viewpoint is, what are we doing that's best that's going to help the student? And that's not necessarily passing a test, but learning. And that's the thing. So, and that will always be.
With all the mobility that we see, there's a good chance that number could drop down, next month.
Not sure all as long as you have the mobility, I mean, it's not that bad, I don't think. Well, maybe it is. I haven't seen the data, but the thing is that doesn't make it, from the mobility standpoint, it may reduce at one school, but if we're mobile within the district, we're just going to add it to somewhere else. So, we're just kind of passing it around. So I'm not sure that's a good reason why we need to be on the same page for the mobility, but.
And I'm excited for Oz, Mr. Atkins, because, there's absolutely no more space. So if we had another classroom to add, like we got that certified teacher, there's not a classroom space to put that in. And so, with the building of the new school.
Just take over the teacher's office.
Well,
Teach them in the hallway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, one of our goals is learning environments too. So, we want to make sure that they have what they need.
Well, we just passed the bond to go build a new AUG, so good. The teacher that's coming on in January, is it going to be like a co-teach model or is she going to get her own classrooms, or?
No, there's not enough. She'll be in there for support.
Co-teach, okay.
Yeah,
Kind of a
and you would have to split up, and I'm saying again, new teacher, you don't have to split it, but just, maybe you can have the instructions and making sure the new teacher understands exactly what's needed and take a group and go in the hallway, or go in the
Well, in a guided reading classroom, you can have 2 guided reading groups going on at the same time with paraprofessional support. So what that would look like is 2 teachers pulling 2 different groups according to their lexile level and a paraprofessional support for the enrichment or the I-station or the other things that are going on. That's why elementary classrooms are like, they laugh about 3 reading circuses, but it's not circus,
right.
but it's 3 reading stations, and they can work very well together. The more adults in the classroom, the better you can serve the
It's also a smaller room, so it's kind of confusing.
And Mr. Atkins, I do
And
want
a lot of furniture and all.
Yeah, I do want to point out too that not all the classes grades are like this. This is why we have to come and do the exceptions. There's a second grade class that has an extra teacher actually. We can do away with one of the teachers and they would still be under 22:1. So they're at 15, 16. So it's not a campus-wide. It's just one grade.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, I understand the grade.
There's 4 teachers in second grade and there's only 3 in
I would be
grade.
curious to know how the 15, 16-year group, their outcome performance versus the 24 outcome performance. I know it's a little about, comparing apples and oranges, but, it would be interesting to see how effective the teacher who has 15, 16 and the teacher who has the 24. And, I know there's a lot of variables there. There's a lot of variables. Yeah, there's no way to ever track it.
Well,
it would take some effort, but it would. But the question, it would be more of a warm fuzzy. Because you have more time.
You can see the raw data, but you may not be able to draw a conclusion based on that data. The teacher, the master teacher, how is she as far as experience of mentoring young teachers? Because I'd hate to have it now, it's 25-1 because she's now having to teach a teacher how to teach in addition to having the 24 students. And I'm being hypothetical.
We support through our teacher induction program throughout the year. So it's not just one teacher having to bear the burden, because you have the support of our central office team that provide those kinds of trainings and different things. And so we set up systems in place so that we can ensure that he or she is being exposed to all types of good models, good exemplars.
She's going to get additional mentoring, not just the reliance on the one classroom teacher to take care of all of this. Okay.
All right, let's get back on track. So we have a recommendation from the administration to approve the class size exception for Ogg, Beth Brandon, and Stephen F. Austin. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
It's been moved by Ms. Patty Sayes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schwartner. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay.
I vote nay.
All right.
Thank you.
6-1. It does pass. Thank you, Mr. Redden. Back to you, Mr. Redden. Board Policy AE Local 5 Student Outcome Revision.
Okay.
Staying on track, Ms. Colorado.
Pardon me. In alignment with the district goal that Brazos Point ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready, I'm presenting for action a revision to Board Policy AE Local. On August 15th, the Board approved the revision of Policy AE Local to include 8 student outcome goals, 3 constraints for the superintendent, and 4 constraints for the Board of Trustees. The revised policy was reviewed by TEA and a recommendation given to the district to reduce the number of student outcome goals from 8 to 3 to 5 in order to meet the focus requirements of the Lone Star governance model. The original 8 student outcome goals were then consolidated into 5, and AE Local was once again revised. The first 3 consolidated outcome goals are: the percentage of students reading on grade level will increase from 71 to 74% to 100% by the year 2020. You'll recognize that that's unchanged from the original. The second one is a consolidated goal. The percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 who perform above the state passing standards in reading and mathematics will increase from at or below state level to 8 to 10 percentage points above the state by the year 2020. The third one is also a consolidated goal. The percentage of students assessed on STAR end-of-course exams who perform above the state passing standards will increase from below state level to 4 to 8 percentage points above the state by the year 2020. Goal number 4 is the same as it was. The percentage of first-year freshman students who earn 6 or more credits will increase from 89 to 95% by the year 2020. And then outcome number 5 is also consolidated. The post-secondary readiness measure of industry-based certifications and enrollment in AP dual credit classes will increase from 227 certifications and 2,007 enrollments to 301 certifications and 2,700 enrollments by the year 2020. It is the administration's recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the second revision of AE Local as presented. I'll be happy to answer any clarifying questions at this time.
Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
It's been moved by Mr. Spears. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Patty Stays. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. It carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
The next item on our action item list is the consideration of items pulled from the consent agenda. We do not have any. So the next item we have is reports, board committee reports. Any thoughts?
Well, I'll start. We visited CTE High School in Pasadena. Very enlightening, really interesting. Obviously, they do this quite often, but they were certainly well prepared and doing the tours, and they were very proud of it. So it was very interesting. I also attended the TASD convention. I'll have your report next month. I did attend the BLK presentation on CTE High School. I just happened onto it. It was kind of like I saw it. I was going through there, and their high school is in Arlington, so that was kind of interesting. And then, as I was discussing with one of my former classmates at Hasby and Keller, they have an existing school that they converted to CTE High School. So there's a lot of different options that's kind of interesting. Also attended the delegate assembly and did our vote for our Region 4, and most everything passed. And I'll send everybody an update on that just for information.
Thanks. Anyone else? Ms. Cuellar? No? I also attended this. I know. I thought she might want to share. Okay.
I did see her, so
she
saw me, so we confirm each other.
The CTE school that we visited in Pasadena was impressive. A lot of good ideas, things that I'm hoping that maybe we can see in the future.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Things I never would have expected from a high school. But, pretty amazing. All right, our next item is the work session discussion. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for November the 13th. The next item we have is executive session. It may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.001 through 551.146, and Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, Section 551.074, personnel matters, appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, and complaint. We will return. All right. I was told they do not need one. The next item that we have then is our workshop on student performance and outcomes. Ms. Claire Saldana has some information to share.
As she's getting ready, I would like to thank Ms. Hill Davis, Mr. Mertel, and Mr. Cole for organizing and putting this together. They've worked very hard on being able to present this to you. You give you lots of great information on student outcomes. Also, too, we have some guests here that I want you to know who they are. Dr. McMahon is here, and Ms. Elliott also, and they are working to be Lone Star governance trainers. And so they are advocates for BISD, and Mr. Crable and them both decided that we would be a great model for them to learn from. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for advocating for Brazos Sports.
y'all feel free to join us for the board meeting.
Did y'all know there was a baseball game?
I'm not good right now,
All right, here we go. And I'm hoping that this will answer a lot of questions that you started formulating tonight. We'll get those answered. Since the school year of 2015 and 16, BISD has charged schools with institutionalizing the concept of shaping school culture to reflect professional learning communities. The PLC journey for BISD has been accelerated at some campuses, has had a slow start at other campuses, but is still the expectation for all campuses. Tonight's presentation will focus on the work of all of our schools in Brazos-Fort Independent School District as each principal shares their perspectives and strategies for improving student achievement. As author and researcher Todd Whitaker says, great principals, which is what we have, take responsibility for their own performance and for all aspects of their schools. We have created tonight dashboards to help everyone visualize key performance indicators at a glance that are relevant to comparisons, trends, trendsetters, and practices that provide positive impact on student achievement. The dashboard tool will be posted in every school for our professional teaching staff to update as both formative and summative data changes, as attendance data changes, and in case a check engine light appears to indicate that something is wrong needs to be addressed. The dashboards will continue throughout the year to provide real-time results by disaggregating the data and monitoring the Big 5 initiatives. BISD leaders are on the road to excellence, and we're not looking at the rear-view mirror for guidance. We're looking ahead, blazing new and exciting trails, and traveling together in the quest for excellence. So before we get started, I would like to thank you, board members, for your unwavering commitment to our students and to our staff. So let's take a look on the screen. As you can see, the STAR data will be the central focus and will remain on each individual campus dashboard throughout the year, so that we'll always be cognizant for our quest for continuous improvement. Distinctions will also be front and center as we strive to gain more. There is a direct correlation with student attendance and student performance. In other words, we can't teach them if they aren't here. There's an even greater correlation between staff attendance and student achievement. Teacher attendance impacts both student attendance and student performance. And thus, we celebrate this at several of our board meetings. So let's look at these dials over here. These dials represent a literacy screener that is given to grades kindergarten through 2 at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and at the end of the year. The percentages in the dials reflect the percent of students at or above grade level. Remember, our goal by the year 2020 is to have 100% of our students on grade level. Our dials over here reflect TIMI. What is TIMI? TIMI stands for Texas Early Math Inventory, and it's used for grades K through 2. This is a math screener given at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And the percentages reflected in the dials reflect the percentage of students who are at or above grade level. These dials will change throughout the year. In many of our schools, there are data walls that reflect individual student progress, and these are often the focal point of our PLC meetings.
On the dashboards for our high school campuses, you will notice that there is one gauge on the left representing the percent of freshmen earning 6 or more credits, and one gauge on the right that represents the number of student enrollments in dual credit or advanced placement courses.
All right, so I want everyone to look at your little booklet, and here you have the dashboard, and if you will, turn with me
to Brazosport High School, for example. Everybody with me? So here you have, like in a car, a dashboard with the dials that reflect the data for Brazosport High School. Down here will be your steering wheel for the evening. This will give you an opportunity to either write some clarifying questions or reflection as each one of the principals give their presentation. So, in other words, these dashboards, Jerry, you talked about with our Be Success Academy, they will have a dashboard too that will be posted, so we will keep our eye on this dashboard throughout the year as represented in our school. At the very back of the booklet, there is a glossary for you all to refer to in case you're suffering insomnia tonight. And you can look at the glossary because we are guilty as charged. As educators, we always use acronyms, and lots of times people don't know what we're talking about. So this will help to clarify any misunderstanding. So at this time, we're going to turn the radio up, and I want you all to enjoy the ride.
All right, let's rock and roll. So, good evening. Very excited to be here talking to you guys tonight. Y'all know me, and when I start talking about my campus, I get a little bit excited and love to talk, so forgive me if I read from my notes a little bit. I want to try to stay focused and on point this evening. So, just to start off, I'd like to tell you that my first few months here at Brazosport High School have been absolutely amazing. I've been incredibly impressed by the students and the staff at the high school, and we've been able to accomplish some pretty incredible things in a short amount of time. And I think that that has a lot to do with the support that has been offered from the school board and from the administration. The addition of an additional assistant principal as well as an additional safety specialist has allowed campus administrators to really be focused on instruction and be out in classrooms as opposed to dealing with administrative and disciplinary issues. Also, the addition of several teaching positions over the last several years has allowed us to institute PLCs for each tested subject area by having embedded PLC time in the master schedule. That embedded time has allowed us to truly begin building a culture of collaboration focused on results. And thank you very much. I've been practicing. So, that really has been our main focus is not to take away from any of the additional things that we do at the high school that we're very, very proud of. We're proud of the success of our football team, of the success of our band program. We're very proud of the rocketry program that's really starting to take off, excuse my pun. But, the focus on student achievement results is what we're really all about. And as you look at our end-of-course exam data, there's clearly room for improvement in several areas. In particular, English 1 and English 2 stand out. So to target those areas, we have really focused on a couple of different strategies to target first-time testers and then to target retesters. So we've provided campus-wide professional development on structured reading and writing strategies across the content areas, as well as a structured note-taking process that's designed to help support students' writing and critical thinking. These strategies are being implemented across subject areas in order to collaboratively target our students' reading and writing skills. Additionally, the district has offered support implementing PLCs through Dr. Piper's regular attendance at our meetings during planning time and helping us select targeted intervention resources, which we were able to purchase by reallocating campus funds to focus on high-needs instructional areas. Across all content areas, we have implemented a cycle of common formative assessments that will give us a regular measure of student progress on specific learning targets. This process is being tracked on a spreadsheet that allows teachers to view student progress in one place across content areas. So while the strategies I just listed most specifically target our first-time tester pass rate, we have also targeted our retesting students by strategically scheduling them in clustered classes that will support a coherent course sequence for the students' graduation plans while allowing us to provide targeted intervention for those kids that need to retest. In addition to the instructional strategies I listed, as a campus team, we know that all of our instructional strategies and resources in the world don't mean anything without good teachers. We know that training and retaining good teachers is critical to the success of Brazosport High School. Part of retaining quality teachers is making sure that they feel supported with student discipline. As an administrative team, we have focused on providing clear guidelines and campus policies and a consistent enforcement of those structures. Through this commitment and the implementation of Capturing Kids' Hearts, classroom disruptions have been minimized, office referrals are down, and teachers are able to focus on their main job of teaching. So we know that hope is not a strategy, but we are certainly confident in the strategies I've talked about this evening and pray that we will continue seeing success in the classroom as a result. Of course, before I close, I'd like to reiterate that none of this success would be possible without the material and moral support of the school board and central administration. So thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Go Astros.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear from Rita Pintavalli from Brazos Wood High School.
Yes, we're holding on questions to the end.
We're going to have questions right after the high school.
Well, could you tell me something very general? Is this the STAR test from last year, right, the results?
Yes.
And the attendance is this year? So
The
far?
attendance was last year.
This is all last year.
So as soon as we have the nine weeks, and we're going to be celebrating in here, that's going to change. But the STAR will remain stable all year long, so we'll have our goals. We're not changing that till it changes.
I am also going to stay on tack. But I would like to say, this seems really, really small to you, but a huge morale booster is that we have our new copiers now. And that saves a whole lot of time and makes people happy.
We'll add it to the dashboard next year.
But to help reach our goals of increasing 9th grade passing rate, EOC passing rates, AP dual credit enrollment, and certifications, we have been able to utilize the additional staffing units that were granted to us this year to rearrange our master scheduling to include our emphasis campus-wide on read, write, talk strategies. That is what you will hear on our campus quite often. These have added to the following: common PLC time for EOC courses to increase data and student-driven planning, an intensified Algebra 1 double course for those who have a history of failure or gaps in learning in math, additional BISD labs for accelerated instruction to assist those who have already failed an EOC, and we've even added labs for students for academic enrichment. We have a co-teach model that assists students through RTI, at-risk, special education, ESL, and 504, quality instructors in behavior, math, and English intervention, digital coaches to increase the level of classroom interactive lessons that adds to our key goals, and the addition of 2 more counselors that has increased our ability to serve student needs and give stronger information and quicker customer service. Parent nights to help with registration, dual credit, AP and FAFSA enrollments, an elective extravaganza to increase awareness in the CTE pathways and the certifications that are offered, college fair and job fair to exposure for the students that are future-ready endeavors in careers right out of high school. We have PSAT prep test sessions, SAT, ACT study information, daily SAT, ACT writing across the curriculum, word walls, and strategies. The district did pay for all juniors to take the PSAT test last week, and our students that were National Merit Scholars, that's how they qualified, was through that PSAT test, so we're hoping to have another crop next year. Continually increasing our campus culture and pride is also incredibly important. So we've incorporated utilizing restorative discipline strategies that teach coping and management skills to our students with discipline needs. The new teen leadership class has increased self-awareness and leadership skills for our freshmen, and we have sent students already to Jostens Renaissance Conference, and we will be sending a large group to the Lead-Worthy event coming up in November. We've instituted pride points at a higher level, and we believe that that's important for student recognition and encouraging students to participate in events and have pride in our campus. Capturing Kids' Hearts increases building relational capacity among our students and our staff, creating a safe and caring atmosphere where students want to be. We're adding a ring ceremony with this year through Jostens, where juniors will honor an important academic role model from their lives as they walk across the stage to get their senior 2019 class ring. We've added academic letter jackets for students with a 92 average or above, which will increase their academic awareness and goals. And partnering with elementaries this year to increase our graduation walks to more campuses, thank you all, and celebrate student pride posters for our elementaries that foster character, reading, and drug awareness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And at this time, board members, you have the opportunity to ask any questions of Richard and Rita or anything about high school.
Can I get the notes? That was a lot of information very quickly.
Here's a hard copy, and I can try to share these with
How
Claire
about
from
if
my
I
phone.
put them in the board update?
Yeah, we can email it to you.
I'll try to, we'll share them out with Claire.
That's a lot of information.
You bet, absolutely.
Not being a data guy, so I have to ask some questions on data. The freshman with 6+ credits, that's incoming freshman this year, or?
The current freshmen now.
The current freshman.
That
So
is the goal for this year.
That's this year's data. Okay, and then the dual credit is this year also.
Yes, all of these goals are for our students currently. Those were in the update that Ron gave earlier.
So the numbers here, 89% were last year's freshmen, the 1756 were last year's students.
Okay,
So the
last year.
goals that we have this year in the
Reaching
long-term
to raise
government
those.
to raise.
Okay, so where are the goals?
The goals are 91% for the freshmen, and then a total of enrollment for 2,700 by 2020. Right, so I believe this
2020. They're combined.
And that may be stuff we can add on we can
Goals.
designate it on there.
Goals would be
what
good,
it's
because that way you
about.
can see the dashboard.
Yeah.
And in general, these dashboards will be updated.
Continuing. For example, as CBAs come in, which they're going to be in November, then we'll set the dials to where they are. Then when we get the next set of CBAs, we'll set the dials again.
Okay, just a comment on looking at when this was presented last year in March, the end of course, the mock EOC exams. It's interesting, the data on the tests compared to the stars, some went up, some went down. So it's kind of, I'm not sure what that means, but it's kind of interesting. Some of them was down up significantly, and some of them went down significantly. So I'm not sure what that means. Okay.
Yeah, these are the final, and that would be a dissertation from Ron Redden at another time.
I'm saying that what we looked at from the data, the outcomes that were done in March, I think it's good to compare. I mean, because having a dashboard is fine, but we need them to compare with my sense. Or what we had for goals.
One thing to note on that, sir, is that I believe that the STAR scores that are listed here are combined for the 3 administrations for the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right, Brian?
So
sorry.
a lot of the CBAs and the mocks don't necessarily include the retesters. So this would include the retesters from all 3 administrations.
Right.
On the dual credit, that's the number of kids in dual credit classes.
That is the number of enrolled. Yes,
Courses.
Correct.
Not
So-
kids, courses.
Courses, okay. So that I don't know if there's a way to show number of kids, because one kid could be taking three classes, and then this is counting the 3, not the 1.
Correct.
So I don't know if there's a way to also have on here number of kids taking AP classes and number of courses also, because you really want to increase both. You'll get more courses if you can get more kids. So I think it'd be interesting to see if we can track both of those.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions for our high school? Okay, we'll now have Brooke Merritt, Freeport Intermediate School.
All right, so good evening, BISD board members. I'm also going to look to my notes here. First of all, I'd like to thank you for approving for FIS to continue in our second year of implementation of AVID, Advancement via Individual Determination. Through AVID, our students have had more opportunities to dive deeper into their discovery of college and career readiness skills. We have a focus on school-wide writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, reading strategies in all of our classes. We do have an 8-period day with 38-minute prime time, and during this prime time, many of our students who are struggling with reading or writing are provided additional interventions with their teachers. And additionally, our high-performing students who are needing enrichment opportunities have an array of opportunities provided through Flex Fridays, as well as exposure to enriching organizational skills throughout the week. We also use this time every 3 weeks to allow our multidisciplinary teacher team to meet with individual students and or parents to support their academic achievement and their social-emotional skills, or their social-emotional needs. We do have 4 highly qualified teacher interventionists serving our students who were not successful in either their math and or reading STAR, and they need that extra intervention remediation. We do have 1 math and 1 reading interventionist for each grade level, so we're very fortunate in that. This past spring, these teachers were able to receive quality training and instruction from Solution Tree in response to intervention that works. They focus on essential outcomes to provide targeted intervention support, as well as progress monitoring all FIS students within the grade level teams. We are very grateful to have had an opportunity to add an additional ESL teacher for this school year. This now allows us to have a dedicated ESL teacher for each grade level to better support our 90-plus ESL students. Both our ESL teachers are co-teaching with our English language arts teachers within each grade level, and through that co-teach model, students are able to access the general education curriculum. They also support smaller groups of students through ESL intervention classes where they are pre-taught vocabulary and difficult concepts. They are using Read 180 to support their acquisition of the English language. We do continue to use the co-teach model to support our special education students as well in both grade levels, in both math and in reading. And they provide supports to our special education students in a similar manner as our ESL teachers do. And we've seen much growth in our students using the co-teach model, as evident in our student growth distinction. We have had an emphasis on growth within our professional learning communities, from developing to reaching sustaining. They are concentrating on the essential outcomes and using backwards design when planning their instructional lessons and their assessments. We have structured our master schedule to allow for planning time both vertically and horizontally within our core departments. We've also been a campus known for doing whatever it takes historically, and whatever it takes starts with capturing kids' hearts. And we are very fortunate this past summer, to receive training in capturing kids' hearts to very much fine-tune our development of relationships with our students. And this process of building relational capacity all starts with teaming our students to be with a set of hallway teachers who can really get to know them individually and provide the supports that they need. We know that when we have students' hearts, then we can definitely capture their minds into the journey of the learning process.
All right. And now we'll have to hear from Lake Jackson Intermediate.
I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight to share with you some of the changes that we've made in the 2017-2018 school year to ensure we continue on the road to student success. Our motto at Lake Jackson Intermediate is everyone holding everyone accountable, and we're doing just that. We're excited about this school year for many reasons and look forward to the ongoing opportunities for learning and growing. In our second year of one-to-one implementation, we continue to develop a greater understanding about digital citizenship for our students and how teachers blend their learning to enhance student support and achievement. Accessibility is vital for leveraging technology and to provide educational opportunities for all of our students, including those with disabilities and those that are English language learners. This year we've built capacity to incorporate many tools to help our students, such as HyperDocs, connecting learning with students outside of our own school, and project-based learning tools are just a few of the tools that the teachers and the students are using for this year. It's also important to note, as students advance in content, teachers can track their individual progress, identify special areas of focus, and present solutions that address their specific needs. Technology has allowed students to apply their learning to real-world events and to create a digital footprint that prepares them for their next steps in life. I want to thank the board for supporting our one-to-one initiative of implementation of technology over the last year and for supporting the success that we're having to our digital coaches and to our coordinators. After 2 years of PLC training and an ongoing change of mindset toward instructional delivery, this year we have a very clear understanding of where we are in our professional learning community. Our first step was to survey all of our staff and determine and identify the strengths and weaknesses and where we were in the PLC continuum. Our survey results gave us a clear understanding that we're in the developing stages in 3 areas and the sustaining stages in 2 areas. This year we trained all of our new teachers, whether they were new to our campus or new to the profession, on our Brazosport teacher appraisal system and on the PLC process. We have found that PLCs impact teacher efficacy in the area of shared personal practice and shared and support leadership, which correlate with our teacher appraisal system and their growth. We believe if we have to improve student achievement in our school rather than focus on just our teacher walkthroughs and our appraisals to grow our teachers to support them, we will focus with fidelity on the collaborative analysis of our student data and learning through the PLC process. We began with some adjustments also to our master schedule this year by identifying teacher teams that would be the strongest support for our English language learners, our special education students, and also for those students that needed extra added time and support from their teachers. We have built in a prime time for all students. Our prime time allows students a time for enrichment, or it allows a time for them to be with their core teachers in order to have some more support. During that time, we have designated days that we set for content areas for the kids to see their content teachers, or we also have a day for our PLC teams to meet and discuss students and student needs. We have added a new program, Read 180, and an ESLA position to support our ESL students. And for the first time, we have had 8 of our ESL students involved in our robotics club and in the program. Our thanks goes out to Olin and also to Dow for the mentorship of their engineers who assist our students during that time. 2 of those engineers are from Puerto Rico and have bonded with our students and are mentoring them today. This year we're taking collective responsibility for our student learning to help students achieve at higher levels. We are sharing teaching practices. We are making results transparent and engaging in critical conversations about improving instruction to institutionalize continuous improvement. Our ELA, our math, our science, and social studies department meet collaboratively to look at assessment data to determine and ensure that all students will succeed. During this time, data disaggregation shows where we need to clarify content standards, what strategies are working and not working. We determine areas that might be confusing or misunderstood, and we examine our instructional delivery. All of our core teachers are GT certified, all of our reading teachers have their ESL certification, and all of our core teachers, with the exception of our new teachers this year, are PSYOP trained. These certifications and training not only help our identified students, but they're great strategies for all students. As we improve student achievement in our professional practice, at the same time, it promotes shared leadership. We believe as we conduct ourselves as PLCs, we experience some of the most powerful and beneficial professional development for teachers of all time. Teachers impact student learning, and it's important to hire quality teachers. Thank you goes out to our board member and for some of the changes that you have put in place to attract more highly qualified teachers for our district. If we are to retain these highly qualified teachers, we have to support them. And we've found that through our PLC process, with our new teachers, they feel supported, they feel valued, and they have a sense of shared leadership. And in closing, this year we have a built-in time that we're meeting with parents on certain issues and concerns that they might have in the evening so that we can better understand and be in partnership with our students and our parents. We will continue building strong relationships with our students. We will continue to survey and understand where our students and teachers are coming from. I was close. All right, I can stop that. All right, and now we'll have two intermediate.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to share the many great things that we're going to be doing at CIS this year. Before the staff and I got to going this fall, we wanted to look back because we had, I feel, a very successful year last year. Scores increased in math especially. But when we got down, we decided on three things that need to be looked at. First, we have 4 years with students. We need to get them prepared to be ready for high school curriculum and rigor of that curriculum. Next, teacher quality needed to be further scrutinized and upgraded. This last spring, 15 new teachers were hired. Over the last 2 years, 29 have been hired and replaced. The last group that we just rehired, 5 were brand new ELA teachers with a focus on reading this year because our scores are going to increase there, with 2 new additional math teachers for our BISD classes. The bottom line is that we need the right people on the right seat on the bus to get to where we need to go. The next thing and final thing is literacy. Beginning with reading, again, teacher quality and literacy is the major focal points because over 63% of our kids right now currently read below their grade level on our campus. And that's based on this last September's BOY, which is a reading level exam. Accelerated Reader has been enhanced in our curriculum to count students' points earned as a part of their testing grade, so there's accountability factor in that now. Next, we started a program called DEAR, Drop Everything and Read, a school-wide program that has students starting reading 20 minutes every day before school starts. That includes myself. I go to the classrooms and read the facts every day with them in front of class. Also, we want incentives to be a big part of the program because our kids need the little trinkets that everybody sometimes doesn't want necessarily, but they crave. We have every other week we go and make a big thing out of our reward parties. Next, our bilingual and ESL program was very gracious to provide us with Read 180 in all of our bilingual and ESL classrooms. Next, our English department wanted to get back the time that some of our teachers are losing, so they're going to read in their classes history-based themes and science-based themes books so they can get some of their time back. Next, we've already started vertical planning with all my feeder campuses. We've already had meetings and reading with several of with the AUG principal, also Ms. Mott, and also AUG. And finally, the PE classes are gracious to give 1 day a week to where all they're going to do is read in their classrooms. Again, we want to impress upon our students reading is very important, and that many of my students are below. All above in the reading is, the above is to support the Reading 2020 program in this district. Next, in math, the model is already there. We need the staff to fund those BISD classes. Last year I had science teachers, English teachers, social studies teaching those BISD classes. Now I have math teachers teaching those classes. In social studies, I've had teachers that have left in the middle of the year and not come back, and so I have had nobody teaching those classes. So we've hired an expert staff, one that is definitely an expert in History Live curriculum, which is a very sound, very good curriculum. She is incorporating that into her classrooms as we speak, and that also they're going to get their time given back to them by their English teachers by getting history, U.S. history, rich material read to them throughout the day. And the last thing that I really think is an important thing is professional development. We're going to continue to provide professional development that has a focus on our PLCs, and that is always going to be ongoing. This spring and this fall, we're going to actually send a group of teachers for solution trees, closing the achievement gap, and in the spring, RTI will be going for the administration and our interventionists. Again, thank you for this time that you've given to me, and talk to you soon.
Brady Rasco.
Let's take a 5-minute break before we start on our elementary school.
Okay. So think about what are the questions you might have for our intermediate school, and then when we come back from break, we'll start with our 5th, 6th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Score.
No, it was 3-0. I have not been looking at my phone during your meeting, sir. I don't know what the score is.
Well, you're assigned. That's your assignment.
It is still 3-0 in the fourth.
That was not me, I got it.
Maybe the first year as we're trying to implement
That's all we need to know when it's up.
bare minimum, and that's
Basically change the numbers. So wherever this is,
I got your email. I don't know how to explain that. Why is it like this?
That's probably the better way to do it.
Wait, so you did. We did the best. Now, you know, they're basically going to give us no, the uniform.
No matter what.
But they are playing. There's no way for us to lose.
No, we were hoping for a close score. It's really my issue. The whole financial.
Now we have Jennifer Gonzalez, Brady Rasco Middle School.
Good evening. I will be reading from my notes as well, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank each of you for your continued support of Rasco Middle School, especially with the meaningful support for our response to intervention, especially in the adoption of additional resources to support students in the area of literacy. This allows Rasco to provide interventions for our struggling readers in both 5th and 6th grade. And as a student who struggles with reading, this is a passion dear to my heart. Also at this time, I'd like to share with you what we're doing at Grady Rasco to address some of our areas of need, specifically in looking at our students in our sub-pops of special education, our English language learners, and our African American students. First, we began with purposeful scheduling, or we continue to team our students in the 5th and 6th grade to, one, meet their educational needs and to meet their emotional needs, especially for those that need intervention. Next, we ensured that we have continued collaborative planning embedded into our schedule, into our master schedule, which permits time during the day for our professional learning communities to meet on their core subjects. Speaking of professional learning communities, or PLCs, after spending time as a staff at the beginning of the summer, of professional development, and reviewing our PLC practices, we are striving to move from a stage of developing to a sustaining stage in the PLC continuum. First, we meet weekly in our teams with a focus on student growth and closing the achievement gap. We set student goals on our screeners and on our upcoming CDAs, as well as for unit assessments and classwork. Our teachers are digging deep into the data, not just to dig, but to actually take action with what we're seeing as part of our student expectations and their results. We've also been building meaningful instruction, which has been built by our most powerful resource, our teachers. Our teachers are working with our new teachers to help support growth and to share best practices by modeling. Through the Tier 1 instruction, we have three main focuses this year. One is looking at academic vocabulary to ensure that all of our students are understanding what they're learning in class, looking at journaling and writing, and, as I mentioned earlier, reading. Reading in all content areas on a daily basis, which includes the AR program in our 5th grade and a 40-book challenge in our 6th grade. To enhance student buy-in, students are being taught how to monitor their progress. By student expectation, we use what's called a bars and stars chart, which students use to chart the proficiency level on each standard they're taught in class. Teachers hold one-on-one discussions with students if they're falling behind, so as to develop achievable goals with student success in mind. For our students who are in need of further assistance, we are fortunate to have 2 math interventionists and 2 reading interventionists on campus. Our interventionists work daily to ensure that our struggling students receive one-on-one assistance, small group, and are provided the opportunity to utilize technological resources to close their achievement gaps that they have in reading and in math. As mentioned earlier, we talked about purposeful scheduling. This is actually allowed a time built into the day in which we refer to as Rocket Hour. Rocket Hour allows for individual instruction or intervention for our students. We utilize digital learning programs customized for individual students such as Alex, ST Math, and iStation. We also have small group instruction or tutorials that takes part during this time, specifically by our co-teachers to work with our special education students or our ESL teachers to work with our English language learners. It also, in coming soon, will provide the opportunity for our students to engage in enrichment opportunities through what we call Rocket Boosters. This allows students the opportunity to expand their learning as a topic that interests them in a core subject or to work on a project that would benefit the school or local organization. I want to thank you all for allowing me the time to share this with you, and I appreciate your continued support of Grady Rasco. Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll have Bridget Purple from Lanier Middle School.
You keep on moving. Two-songer.
I want to begin with thanking you for your ongoing support and presence and participation at events, not just at our campus, but throughout the district. You really set the tone for a positive, resonating leadership, and we appreciate that. So I want to thank you for that, and then I want to segue into thanking you for our staffing allocation, because that has really set the tone for a higher level of instructional capacity on our campus. It's allowed us to increase teacher quality. Our tenured veteran teachers who have showed success are able to implement, share, and inspire best practices with less experienced teachers. And this is allowing us to go from good teachers to great teaching. In our commitment to increase our campus distinctions that we're very proud of, we've also been very purposeful in our master scheduling to include a common department planning that allows for dedicated time to further our collaborative culture. We've included targeted classes to support our most at-risk students, and this increases our teacher-to-student ratio. This also increases our co-teach opportunities, allowing a higher access to grade-level curriculum for all students. Together with this support for all students, we have provided professional development and balanced literacy to target our ELA deficits to support continued growth in these areas. And we are growing our guided reading practices, and we are proud of the progress that's been reflected in this already. We've also implemented 7 steps training, and with that continued implementation, we have scheduling considerations that allow for inclusive opportunities for our English language learners. Together with these best practices for all students, data is reflecting very positive results for those students. In our professional learning community, we included a protocol that keeps us focused on achieving these results and an embedded intervention and enrichment period that's cohesive across the campus. During the day, this time is dedicated to addressing the needs of all students, and we've targeted this during our PLC time to make sure that we're supporting our subpopulations in all areas. As we focus on our formative assessment, we're utilizing our embedded time to incorporate tutorials, to also incorporate intensive remediation and enrichment opportunities, and we've also utilized instructional support software that allows us to really utilize our one-to-one technology initiative. We have restructured our intervention practices to include level literacy intervention to improve performance of our lowest tier of readers, and we've also continued our extended school day, and this will support the growing of struggling learners to reach objective mastery. We are incorporating a series of Saturday school opportunities beginning in the spring, and these are just some of the many important endeavors that I've rattled off very fast that we have embraced. But among them is another important opportunity called Capturing Kids' Heart, and it's been a great campus initiative to provide outstanding social constructs for students to build staff and student relational capacity, and it's really been embraced by our campus. This has been reflected in our discipline data, and we're very proud to see that. These relationships envelop school connections that support student success the same way that I have been supported and scaffolded as a new principal. The only element that surpasses the infinite support I have received from our great district leadership is my exponential love and growing passion for the students and staff at Lanier Middle School. Thank you.
Now, at this time, you have an opportunity to ask our intermediate and middle level if you have any questions or clarifying concerns or reflections. If not, we'll move on.
Moving on, keep the world on, keep the wheels turning on and on again.
All right, we have Milena Gutierrez from the Stephen F. Austin STEM Academy.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to present our target areas for SFA this year. At SFA, we are focusing on three main areas for student improvement: data-driven instruction, moving PLCs from developing to sustaining and effective monitoring. All of these are recycled from our 8-step process that we use in the BISD. Our focus on data-driven instruction is a weekly process. We have set up Tuesday data meetings to go over formative assessment data with grade level teams. Teachers share the objective they target and how the objective relates to the essential outcomes of the grade level and subject. Data is entered into a campus spreadsheet so we know from week to week how students are doing. In each meeting, teachers share what worked and how they're going to address students that did not master the concept. These meetings are a weekly snapshot of progress. We are also better able to monitor reading, math, and writing instruction by using this process. Our data from our dashboard shows we need to strengthen our instruction in reading, math, and writing. We have extended our RTI time to a 45-minute block with students receiving intervention in reading and math. This is called our Reading and Math Club, and students love to attend. We also have designated writing blocks for each grade level. Our teachers have received professional development from the Writing Academy, and teachers will be training with April B. Caesar this Friday. I collect writing samples each 9 weeks to look for growth in our students from K through 6. In math, we've brought a former teacher back as our math interventionist, and she's providing great direction with our math instruction. For reading, we have added early bird reading with our 5th and 6th graders mentoring younger readers every morning. We made accelerated reading an active part of our classroom and are working with the Fountas and Pinal Phonics program provided by the district. These resources will provide great opportunities for our students to succeed. The next area involves moving our professional learning communities from developing phase to the sustaining phase. Our PLCs meet weekly. PLC time is agenda-led, thank you Polk Elementary, and concentrates on the big 4 questions from effective PLC practice. These meetings are used to target effective strategies for student learning. It is also a time for our digital coach to be an integral part of each team by sharing best practices and technology. Together, we work to find immediate targeted interventions for students. We have also had staff reassignments, which have resulted in 2 all-star teachers being assigned to our 3rd grade and changes in our special ed and math interventionists. These changes have enhanced our instruction and our PLC team. The 3rd area of focus is for effective monitoring to take place. I've set a goal for myself of 3 walkthroughs per teacher per month. By meeting with teachers twice a week, I feel I have a picture of where our campus stands and where we must go. Classroom walkthroughs are a means to communicate areas of improvement for student learning. Although we are focusing on the tenets of student success, we have not forgotten our STEM roots. Each grade level is working on 1 STEM-based project and 2 STEM-based problems per 9 weeks. These projects are based on the essential outcomes for each subject and involve blending subjects so critical thinking takes place. In order for real-world connections to be at the forefront, field trips are also planned with STEM units. We want STEM learning to be challenging and based on multiple connections. In summary, SFA will use our dashboard to drive home success. Go Gators.
And now we have Laura Morris from AP Boydell Elementary.
Good evening. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what we're doing at AP Boydell. And I also will be reading. We are always looking for how we can continuously improve our instruction, and we have made several changes, especially to address reading and writing instruction for our special population. All of our teachers have a SMART goal data sheet where teachers are tracking their students' performance on the screeners and setting individual goals for student growth. We're focused on higher performance for our English language learners and special education students. There's been a lot of changes at AP Boydell in the last couple of years. Our English language learners population has grown from 31 students last year to 53 already this year, and our special ed population is steadily growing. We did start out last year with 47 students being serviced, and we ended the year with 56, and we've already started this year with 60 students being serviced in special ed. I want to assure you that although we have a diverse population at AP Boydell, the quality of instruction offered by our outstanding teachers and staff continues to be exemplary. What are we changing? First, we have changed our entire master schedule to ensure that students are not being pulled out of core instruction. We have coordinated our RTI time for 1 hour a day for each grade level. During this time, all of our support services, such as special ed, ESL, Tier 3 intervention, and our GT enrichment are serviced, which reduces the time that students are pulled away from core instruction. We have moved to a full co-teach model with our special education students. With this model, our special education students are not pulled away from any general instruction. Our special education staff push into the classrooms and work alongside the general education teacher. I want to thank you for the addition of the special education teacher position we received this year. Without this person, this co-teach model would not be possible. Also, I want to thank you for the additional ESL para position that will be beginning tomorrow. With this position, we're able to offer in-class support for our 3rd and 4th grade ELL students during core instruction, which yields much better results for our students, both academically and learning how to speak English. We are also striving to improve our PLC process on our campus. As we know, this will further improve our instruction. I want to commend Ms. Fulton over at Polk, who has been an enormous help with sharing resources and providing support. Finally, I just want to say our new building is amazing. The building lends itself to having a culture of collaboration with all of our collaborative spaces. The students, staff, parents are so proud of it. It's just a totally different atmosphere in the building. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Now, here comes Ms. High Five, Julie Evans from Best Friends.
I'm just glad I can see over the podium. Good evening, board members, administrators. I'm really excited to be here this evening to share with you the plans that we have for this year. At Brandon, we are so very proud, and I say that very sincerely, very proud of our 5 distinctions. I have to tell you that when Clara called me and said, "Congratulations on your distinctions," I said, "Oh, how many did we get?" And she said, 5. I didn't believe her. I thought, she's teasing me, how mean. And so I said, I have to wait and talk to Ron first. He'll tell me the real deal. Anyway, we are proud of those 5 distinctions, but we do have room for improvement. First, I would like to say thank you for the added support we received last year for our ESL population. 100% of our 3rd graders passed the Math Star. 78% of our 3rd graders passed the Reading Star. Those are phenomenal results compared to where we were before. We also will continue to offer that support this year to those 3rd graders who are now 4th graders. And we will target the few that did not pass the reading test to make sure that they are successful this year on the STAR test. New for this year, we are focusing on our special education population. We have moved from a resource model of instruction into a complete inclusion model in grades kindergarten through 4th grade in reading and in math. The teacher and the paraprofessional will go into the classroom to support the students' learning within the regular education setting. By restructuring our master schedule and our student groups, we are exposing all students to the grade level curriculum as well as we are following best practices. Something else we are implementing this year is we have started our intervention early. We are beginning our school day at 7:45 for our 3rd and 4th graders. 3rd and 4th graders come in at 7:45 each day of the week. Direct instruction is delivered by the interventionist, the ESL staff, and the dyslexia teacher. By starting early, the regular classroom teacher doesn't lose any of the core instruction time, and the students are receiving 45 minutes, 5 days a week of targeted intervention instruction. I'm very proud of the students and the staff, the parents, and the friends at Best Brandon. We are always excited to see our students succeed. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to share this information about our campus.
Julie. And now we have Vicki Carr on the road again with Elizabeth Name.
Just can't wait to get on the road again. My love is making me.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to talk about Elizabeth Name, one of my favorite topics. Julie, congratulations on your 5 distinctions. It's really hard to follow her, but wow, how prideful I would be. But we are getting there. I want to share with you Elizabeth Name's growth opportunities. You can see behind us that we do have growth opportunities, but we do have success as well, and we are on the road to 5 distinctions. I want to share a success first before we talk about some of the promises that we've made at Elizabeth May. In our accountability summary, we did have gains in all 4 indexes, from 5 points to 11 points. We were also moving up in our comparison group, where our 3rd grade reading was in the top 25%. So we are making substantial gains, and we're very, very proud of that. But we do have work to do. You can tell by our dashboard. So as NAE Knights, we're going to follow our coat of arms. One part of that coat of arms is faith. Faith is our commitment to always hold true to our promises, no matter how small they are. So our promises for continued school improvement and increased student performance is as follows. We promise to continue our master schedule to reflect 100 to 120-minute ELA blocks uninterrupted, 90-minute math blocks uninterrupted, with common planning time for our grade level teams, with 1 dedicated planning time for our professional learning communities to do their important work. During our PLC time, we are going to focus on student results and leave each meeting with an action plan to address our student needs. We promise also in our master schedule to continue to allow 2 30-minute intervention blocks per day for our response to intervention to take place. This will continue to address the needs not only of our struggling learners, but also allow us time to extend the learning of our students that are at or above grade level. We promise to use guided reading and guided math instruction as a vehicle to individualize our small group instruction, focusing on mastering our essential outcomes and also to accelerate student growth. We promise to continue our school-wide writing program, which includes daily writing in all grade levels through the writing portfolio, provide direct instruction in the writing process during our writers' workshop that happens 2 to 3 times a week, and also to continue with our campus-designed writing rubrics to continually assess student work in writing. Also for our students to use those rubrics also to evaluate their own work. We promise to continue to encourage independent reading using Accelerated Reader as our incentive program. We have more and more students excited about reading because of that program, and many are meeting their goals. We promise to continue to provide our students with a safe and effective learning environment by continuing our PBIS program, not only to encourage excellence in conduct, but to encourage excellence in attendance, because we know how important it is for our students to be there every day. And finally, we have had some personnel changes in our quest to have the most effective teachers on the NA team. Because of this, we've also identified some areas with our new teachers that are going to require us to have some additional professional development. At the beginning of the school year, we identified a need to know more about formative assessments with descriptive feedback. We know that we need to have more tools in our toolbox for addressing the needs of our students with challenges. And we also need professional development in creating language-rich environments. So we have made a promise. We have dedicated our faculty meetings as our time as lifelong learners for our own professional development. I want to thank you for allowing me to share our promises that we have established at NA, and as always, we will continue to keep children first. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. And now we'll have Ms. Tara Bolton from Gladys Post Elementary.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Polk. And when I talk about Polk, I feel like I'm talking about my own child because I love it so much. And I'm a proud Panda mom. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity. As you can see from the dashboard behind me, we've made tremendous gains in all areas. And not only did we see overall growth in math, reading, and writing, but we saw growth in our student groups, particularly our economically disadvantaged students, our bilingual and ESL students, and our special education students. And we received a distinction in closing the achievement gaps, which means that we're not seeing huge gaps between our ECOD or our special ed or our LEP students because all of our students are achieving. 2 years ago, our campus was an improvement required, and now we've met standard with a distinction. And this is a direct result of 3 things. 1, we're ensuring that all students are learning at high levels. Number 2, we're operating in a collaborative culture, and we're a model professional learning community. 3, we focus on results by knowing the students and by intervening when they're not achieving the essential learning outcomes. After we attended 2 PLC institutes, we embraced the model of collaboration. My staff planned and facilitated our August professional development. We aligned our mission statement to reflect high levels of learning for all students. And together we agreed on collective commitments, which are belief statements, to which we all hold each other accountable. We identified learning targets, we shared ways of creating formative assessments, and the staff collaborated on the best ways to track student performance so that at any time we know where our kids are in their essential learning outcomes. Our daily schedule has built-in time for intervention and collaboration. Every student has 1 hour of RTI time, and we call it Panda time. This is when our special education students, our dyslexia students, our ESL students, GT, and Tier 3 students receive specialized intervention or enrichment. The remainder of the class is grouped among their grade level, and the teachers share students to provide intervention or enrichment based on their assessment data from that week. All of our students are receiving core instruction with the highly trained professional teachers, and this ensures that all students are learning the essential outcomes of the curriculum. All teachers meet with their PLCs weekly to look at what students are learning, how they're assessing their learning, and how they're going to intervene or enrich. They collaborate to share instructional practices, and they discuss ideas for intervention, and when something isn't working, they work together to find something else that will. This is a true PLC, and it's the culture of my campus. We're a family, and we have very low turnover with the staff. But when we do have to hire, we look for candidates to join the staff that are bought into the PLC mindset and who believe in our mission and our vision. We're striving for continuous growth and improvement, and we want to see bigger gains in our student learning and achievement so that all students are achieving at high levels. To do this, we're focusing on guided reading and math and writing across the curriculum. Our teachers are using our level library that we received from the Education Foundation grant last year during their guided reading time. We promote Read 2020 by tracking our students' reading time daily. We continue to provide targeted interventions for math and reading during Panda time, and we track our student progress with our data wall so that we know where our students are in their achievement. My assistant principal and I are in every single PLC, and we know where the kids are, and we know who they are, because we love them. We want every student grade level ready by the end of the year, because that is the meaning of all means all. Thank you.
Claire, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, and this is the time where y'all can ask for the other schools too.
Why is AP Boyle, or why is Glass Polk and OG the only two using iStation on their dashboard and everybody else is using ELA?
We afforded them the opportunity to pilot iStation to see which one would give us more impact and to give us more accurate data. A lot of our campuses are using iStation in addition to the other StarRen, but we were really looking at maybe replacing StarRen with iStation depending on what the data is that's being provided for us. Both are great tools. We just want to see which one is going to be more accurate, give us the impact and information that we're going to need. That's why.
Perfect. Second question. On these TEMI.
Timmy?
Yes, whatever we call it. Or
The math screeners?
Are we going to see, the next time you'll take that, take it through the coming year, are we going to see all three of those on this report, or is it going to just be the current one?
It'll be, this is reflective of the beginning of the year.
No, as the year goes, will we see 3 arrows at the end of the year where you were, where the second one was, where the third one was?
It's not the arrows, it's just the box. But in the box, I can put all 3. I can put the boy, the middle of the year, and then the EOI.
So you can see where the dollar was and where it was. Yeah.
That's on, yes, sure.
Yeah, so talk about that.
Great.
Instead of just seeing a snapshot.
Yeah.
We can put where the goal is.
We can put different color arrows.
The dashboard may have to get like 8 pages long.
It'd be like an airplane. We're going to Robin's class.
We did have additional data on there, but we don't want it to be so.
No, I agree. I was just wondering if it was that.
And
when we see the second screener, will we get on the first one?
And just so you know, our elementary principals have more on their data dashboards, but for the sake of the presentation, we didn't want to have to go explain some other areas that we're looking at as well.
I appreciate that.
All right. Good question. What else?
George may not, but I
Any other questions?
What's the airplane?
Jumbo cargo.
All right. I'll now have Dr. Mott and Master Stillman.
We had to get the walk-up song in.
All right, good evening. I know you've heard it several times tonight, but I would also like to thank you for your continued support. Wonderful things are happening at Griffith, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share them with you tonight. One of our highlights from the 2016-17 school year included Griffith's first ever TEA distinction, which came in the area of closing the performance gaps. We're committed to the success of each student, and it was exciting to be recognized in this area. It was especially thrilling to watch our English language learners excel. I'm proud of the hard work of our students and our staff. Another highlight was the increase in the number of students who were successful in the 4th grade STAR writing test. The percentage of students considered passing increased from 50% in 2016 to 74% in 2017. This came partially as a result of campus-wide focus on writing. While we still have a ways to go, we're proud of our growth, and that growth is inspiring us to reach even greater heights. Besides our writing program, there are a number of things that have contributed to our continued growth. Many of our programs were implemented several years ago, and we are working to improve that implementation. For the second year, our master schedule allows for grade-level professional learning communities, or PLCs, and they work together during the school day. Each grade level has a trained PLC leader, and our teams are continuously self-evaluating and seeking new ways to work together to meet the needs of each student. As a part of the PLC process, semester and annual math and reading goals are set for individual students. We are focused not only on specific grade level mastery, but the level of growth that we expect each student to achieve by the end of the year. In addition to improving daily instruction in the classroom, we are excited about the interventions available to assist our students who struggle the most. Our new level literacy intervention reading program, as well as our phonics and dyslexia programs, are helping remediate reading concerns campus-wide. And we will once again offer targeted tutorials during the school day and on select Saturdays in the spring. And finally, building on the momentum of BISD's Read 2020 program, we have a strong emphasis this year on family engagement. We believe that students will have greater levels of success when the adults in their lives are working as a team to support their education. This focus has led to targeted staff professional development, a video series on our YouTube channel that is designed to equip parents as educational partners, and a more comprehensive plan to utilize our community resources. We have ambitious goals for this school year, and I am confident that we are on our way to reaching each of these goals. Your support and encouragement mean so much to me, and we would love for you to come see the great things happening at Madge Griffith Elementary.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mott. Now we have our new principal, Jennifer Neighbors, O.M. Roberts.
Good evening. With this being my first year as principal at Roberts Elementary, it's been a successful start to the year, and I've had wonderful support from my colleagues and mentors. Roberts has been in the habit the last few years of sitting above state averages and steadily showing growth in math, and we plan to continue that trend and move upwards. We're proud that our dashboard reflects 3 distinctions and want to focus on growth in reading and writing by targeting our subpopulation. To continue our trend of being a high-achieving campus and grow our students, we've changed our master schedule to reflect a 1-hour RTI block. Not only do our struggling students receive interventions with our interventionists, this gives teachers time to intervene with students and provide enrichment for our high-performing students. We've repurposed a paraprofessional to help with early learning student interventions as well. Students are not missing any core instruction for interventions, ESL services, or special education services. Our ESL para is supporting students within the classroom during core instruction, which is helping us target one of our subpopulations that's growing on our campus. Our special education students participate in co-teach or in class support classes, so they're accessing the grade level curriculum. We're holding weekly PLC meetings where we review student data and assessments to target instruction, and we're building in time for vertical alignment so grade levels can learn how to grow students together. In keeping with the Read 2020 initiative, we're working to build literacy skills and parent involvement by hosting family academic nights. We're working to build new teacher leaders who are focused on implementing guided reading with fidelity.
And along with those new teacher leaders, it's been refreshing to add some new teachers to 4th grade who have blended with our PLC process and have brought in willingness and fresh reading and writing knowledge and ideas to our team. Our campus will continue to strive for high achievement and the high five and distinction.
Now, we got Christy Traylor, T.W. Ogg Elementary, in the land of Ogg. I know it's kind of a slow walk along, but we're working on our masterpiece, so. Good evening, my name is Christy Traylor, I'm principal at T.W. Ogg, and there's a reason why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. It's because where we're going is so much better than where we've been, and at T.W. Ogg, we're building our masterpiece one student at a time this year. So moving forward, there are 5 big ideas that I'd like to highlight for you that we're focusing on. The first is teacher quality, because we all know that it's the teacher in the classroom that makes the difference. We have a new dynamic in the 3rd and 4th grade hallway with the addition of a 4th grade bilingual teacher this year, he's amazing, from Tyler, and a new 4th grade math teacher, so that should help with our 4th grade math scores. With the addition of a new assistant principal who has a significant, extensive background in English language arts, and the addition of an early literacy specialist at the district level, we're utilizing her and my AP to assist and support the teachers in implementing the implementation of balanced literacy in the classroom. The next thing we're focusing on, we looked at our master schedule because we had a lot of time instructional time lost in transitions. So we worked really hard this summer in 3 days without cake from Apple's Way, the chocolate fudge kind, to make sure that we had uninterrupted 90-minute blocks of instructional time in 3rd and 4th grade. We also made sure that our RTI blocks were back-to-back, so this would allow our interventionists to push into the classroom instead of pull out of the classroom to help reduce that student-teacher ratio and enable more small group time and individualized instruction. We also have an ELA focus this year. Our K-4 ELA teachers have made a commitment to guided reading and balanced literacy. We also have a focus on early literacy, and in our kindergarten through 2nd grade classrooms, we're focusing on phonics, thanks to the district purchasing the Fountas de Fanel phonics program. We are also utilizing mentor sentences, pulling a sentence directly from the text to support context clues, sentence structure, text features, and grammar. We're continuing our work with April DeCesar in her writer's portfolio model and the morning message. And something new we're doing this year, we have a new GT teacher who came to us from West University, I believe, but she has extensive training in writing, and she has offered her services 1 hour a week and is doing a 4-week rotation, a writing workshop. Her name's Catherine Adams, with our 4th graders. So we're really excited about that. Actually, my 4th grade teacher came to me and said, Catherine finally got to my room, and oh my gosh, she's amazing, and I've learned so much already. So that's really good. We're also, the next thing we're focusing on or implementing this year are common formative assessments. Our teachers are collaborating on that data. They're collaborating on creating those common formative assessments, and this data will be utilized to shift our data conversations from lesson planning to student learning. And this will occur during our PLC time, which is 1 time per week, 1 day a week. We're also this year participating in the Circle of Love, and this is the Lanier, Ogg, and Velasco Circle of Love, collaboration with my fellow principals and their campus teachers on best practices. We've got our teachers together, and we're also working, my instructional team, my grade level chairs, interventionist, assistant principal, and I, working in close collaboration with Clara to expand and strengthen our PLC process. Finally, I'd like to thank you for moving up the timeline on our new school. Very excited about that. Had a meeting last week with the architect and checked that out, and it's amazing. And we're looking forward to building an even bigger and better masterpiece over the next year and few months and opening a new T.W. Ogg in 2019. Thank you. All right, thank you, Ms. Traylor. And now we have Margaret Meadows from Velasco Elementary.
Almost done. Okay.
Mine's a little bit different. I have all the same kind of schedule and PLC things and all those wonderful things going on at Glasgow as well. But our job this year is creating a unity of purpose in combining the two schools. And when you look at this, I want you to know the middle line is just half the story, because almost exactly half the staff at Velasco now is former Jane Long staff, and there are more former Jane Long students at Velasco now than Velasco students. Not tons more, but we truly are a new Velasco. And though Jane Long no longer exists, the building is gone, the staff and the students are still there making up this whole new story. So, my biggest deal was trying to get the adults to bond. So this summer, we had a staff retreat at the beach. It was very successful. The whole thing was only about adults. We didn't talk about kids or scores or data or numbers. It was just about getting to know each other on a personal level. Very, very successful. I've been fortunate to have a wonderful leadership team, and part of that circle of love also, Claire works with my leadership team trying to build their capacity. We've already had a couple of meetings, and I'm going to tell you that group has just gone off the deep end. They're great. They're doing wonderful, wonderful things. We are having to continue the Velasco turnaround plan. That's always in the forefront. It's very similar to the Jane Long one, so everyone's on the same page. We're continuing with writing and building teacher capacity. We only have one brand new teacher at Velasco this year out of a staff of almost 80. That includes paras and all the extra people that come along with that. So continuing to build that capacity, strengthen our teachers, strengthen our team with the ultimate goal of student growth. And that was actually how we got our 3 distinctions last year from Jane Long. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret Meadows. Last but never least, from the land of the little, we have Maria Espinosa with OA Fleming Elementary. Student B, please.
Good evening, school board members, members of the ISD cabinet, and fellow administrators. My name is Maria Espinosa, and I'm the proud principal of OA Fleming Elementary in Freeport. OA Fleming is a pre-K-1 campus, the only one of its kind in BISD. At Fleming, we've set a strong foundation in early literacy and math skills, as well as providing a safe and nurturing environment for our little students. We live our mission each and every day that OA Fleming will educate the whole child to be future ready. Our vision for our school is that OA Fleming community will build a solid foundation for all students. Although my campus has a high rate of economically disadvantaged children that face many obstacles, we believe that all means all, and that all children can and will be successful in school. As I enter my 3rd year as principal at Fleming, we continue to stay the course that we set forth during year 1. In 3 short years, we have moved from being the lowest performing school in the district to being one of the highest performing in our grade span. Our focus continues to be RTI to meet the needs of our struggling learners, PLCs to foster teacher collaboration and discuss curriculum, and providing enriching real-world experience to our young students. Our RTI is built in during the day in our master schedule. Each grade level has 30 minutes for interventions each day. During RTI, students are grouped based on need, and teachers and pairs provide targeted interventions to those students. Some interventions that are provided daily are LLI, TEMI, and iStation. All teachers, interventionists, and pairs have been trained in LLI and provide small group interventions. This has helped make our groups very small and has created the all means all mentality with my staff as they become aware firsthand of the student needs on our campus and form relationships with the students that they are providing services to. Our paras have also been trained in TEMI and pull small groups for that intervention as well. With most of my staff intervening and providing targeted interventions to our students, we have made huge gains over the past 3 years, and we will continue to do so. The PLC process has grown on our campus, and we have learned a lot along the way. This is our 3rd year incorporating the PLC process. This past summer, 7 staff members, my AP, and myself were fortunate to attend the PLC conference in San Antonio. Training our staff in the PLC process and providing the time for teachers to meet was a top priority for me. I built in time in the master schedule for teachers to meet as a PLC weekly. This has helped immensely. It provides a time during the day that teachers can discuss student data, interventions, and lesson ideas.
The topics discussed during PLCs connect directly to the 4 critical questions of PLCs. What do we want our students to learn? How will we know when they've learned it? What do we do when they don't learn it? And how do we respond if they already know it or have learned it? By focusing on these critical questions, our student performance will show gains and prepare our students for the transition to Velasco and beyond. Reading and math are not the only subjects that we focus on at Fleming. This year we began a STEM challenge that brings in volunteer engineers from Dow, BASS, and Olin during school hours to lead STEM activities with our young learners. We believe the love of math, science, and problem-solving skills should be introduced at an early age. We continue to hold partnerships with Crossover Community Church, Dow Texas Operations, BASS, Freeport Police Department, and the City of Freeport. Our students are loving the STEM activities, and they are learning important life skills that will help them in their college years and beyond. I'd like to close by thanking the BISD School Board and Central Admin for their continuous support for my campus. The reconfiguration 3 years ago was definitely out-of-the-box thinking and was something that had not been done before. The results of the reconfiguration have been amazing, and none of this would have been possible without your support. The support for personnel, such as a full-time digital coach and full-time specialists, have been fundamental to our school success, along with funding the programs like LLI and iStation. As we look forward to moving into our new, beautiful building as Freeport Elementary, we will continue to uphold our beliefs and mission to educate the whole child to be future ready. We will continue to swim to success. Thank you.
Where's your music?
Coming home. There you go. Thank you. Most appropriate. You know, we once said in a workshop, on a very cold, wintry day, at the beginning of our Christmas holidays, on a Saturday, and we heard a mantra that resonated with us, that student outcomes don't change until adult behavior changes. And I would say, based on that quote that we got, I'm very blessed to work with outstanding leaders, and I think we need to give them a great hand. We have much to improve, but we will have great schools because we have great leaders. And we also have you as the wind beneath our wings to help us fly, so that we're not just on a road, that we're accelerated to high speed on wings of eagles. So we thank you for your support. And this has been a daunting evening, but you've heard from our principals, and you will also, this will be so great for me to put in all the board update, in which I will expect you to read all of our schools, complete with the data dashboard. But we're on our way. And we're being transparent, showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we're going to need your continued support as we travel this journey. And thank you for your patience, and I would like to thank our principals for your outstanding leadership and the love that you have for the kids of BISD. We thank you. Now go home and get some rest.